Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll see what happens. We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I am a dissident.
Don't move. Vote.
I'm saying no. Why you hear Palantir, 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 Palantir? It's not going to be stopped.
Seriously, we need to release the Epstein list.
Turns off.
I am not a church boy.
Turns off.
They're full-on vampires.
They hate our beef. They hate our beef. They hate our beef because our beef is beautiful and theirs is weak.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome one and all to a Sunday evening edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. My name is Keaton Weiss. Russell Dobular still in China. He dropped another video just today on his China travels on his Russ on the Road channel. So you can go check that out, youtube.com/@ Russ on the Road NYC. Please do go and check that out. But he is busy seeing the sights, so he is not with us tonight. Of course, I want to welcome a very special guest who I had the pleasure of meeting during my guest host stint on the Jimmy Dore Show. She is a civil rights litigator and a host of the Previously Prohibited podcast. Welcome to the program, Jenin Younes. Jenin, great to see you again. Thanks so much for joining.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Of course. Great to see you. So, I remember last time we were talking about the ICE murders in Minneapolis, and more bad news to talk about today. So, thanks.
That's what I'm here for.
That's what you're here for. Exactly. So, for those who are not familiar with your work, on your Twitter bio here, it says you were canceled by the left for your COVID views and the right for your Palestine views. So do you want to just explain, for those who don't know, your history of advocacy and how it got you in trouble with people on all across the political spectrum, as they say?
Yeah, sure. So I was a public defender in New York when COVID happened in 2020, and which is a very left-wing profession for those who aren't aware, yes, especially in New York City. And I would have considered myself on the left, although I always had some I had a strong libertarian streak always, and the left had been becoming increasingly authoritarian in my view when it came to free speech, and I was sort of arguing with people about that on and off. And then when COVID happened, I was pretty staunch in my views that it was both civil liberties violative and probably a very bad idea to disrupt society in the way that we were doing, to do lockdowns and that kind of thing, and then mandates. And I encountered opposition, to say the least. People were not very welcoming of my views, and I was sort of surprised by the degree to which people were unwilling to discuss it, I have to say. Like, I knew that I would face opposition because my views weren't mainstream, but I thought that maybe, like, this is a new thing, people will be willing to talk about it. And they were very dismissive and immediately said, like, what, are you like a right-winger now? Do you like Trump? Like, no, I just think these are bad ideas. So I ended up sort of joining a I ended up joining a libertarian law firm in DC, moving to DC. And I would say, like, no longer identifying as a leftist, really, but more of a libertarian, and doing a lot of litigation to challenge COVID mandates and censorship around the COVID issue. And then after October 7th, I once again found myself sort of homeless because the people around me were, I don't want to say everybody, but a lot of the people were on the censorship side and sort of saying, this is anti-Semitic, that's anti-Semitic, so it's okay to deport people for saying this, it's okay to kick them off campus for doing this. And I was like, no, that's also free speech that we, I thought we agreed was protected. Right. So just sort of a more or less half a decade of finding myself politically homeless.
Well, yeah, it says on the background banner, this free speech defender makes enemies left and right. First Amendment lawyer Jenin Younes. I don't know what exactly it says there, but it says basically you sued Biden over his censorship policies, but now you say Trump is worse. And I remember when I talked to you on the Jimmy Dore show, one of the key moments in coming around to the opinion that Trump was actually worse on the issue of free speech than Biden had to do with the case of Mahmoud Khalil. We did get some bad news on this front this week. Immigration Board denies Mahmoud Khalil's appeal, bringing activists one step closer to deportation. So I'll just read a few brief paragraphs from here. The United States Board of Immigration Appeals rejected Mahmoud Khalil's request to throw out his deportation case on Friday. The Trump administration has been attempting to deport high-profile pro-Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil since 2025, arguing his activism could harm U.S. foreign policy. Khalil said he was not surprised by the ruling, which he called biased and politically motivated. His attorneys said he cannot be lawfully detained or deported as he pursues a separate case in the federal court system. The Board of Immigration Appeals sets precedent in the Byzantine immigration court system, which is controlled by the DOJ and increasingly under the influence of the Trump administration. Khalil suffered a significant setback in his federal case earlier this year, with a U.S. appeals panel ruling the judge in New Jersey overstepped his authority by releasing him. In a 2-1 decision, the panel found that law requires the case to fully move through the immigration courts before Khalil can challenge the decision in federal court. Khalil's lawyers are requesting the full appeals panel reconsider the decision. Earlier this month, they asked one of the appellate panel's judges to step aside because of his previous role as a top Justice Department official involved in investigating student protesters. Khalil was born in Syria to a Palestinian family and holds Algerian citizenship through a distant relative. He has said that he could be targeted and even killed if he is deported. And like I said, this case was something that you have commented on a lot in the past. You just announced that you will be posting regularly to your Substack legal commentary going forward. My first piece addresses the administration's latest renewed efforts to deport people for expression of political views. The title here, the Trump administration renews its campaign to flout non-citizens' First Amendment rights. So let's start as broad as we can with this question, because there's going to be some, and I'm sure you've run into people on Twitter and elsewhere who read this headline here and say, well, non-citizens don't have First Amendment rights because they're non-citizens. So can you explain why that's actually wrong?
Yes. So the First Amendment is a restraint on government. It says Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. That applies to the executive as well. The courts have been very clear about that. The reason that the framers didn't say the executive is that they didn't anticipate the executive to be making law as it effectively does these days. So it's a restraint on government and it has nothing to do with the citizenship status of the speaker. And also, when you look at the justifications for the First Amendment, we don't want government to be deciding what political views are valid, what should be heard, what should be silenced. The idea behind it is that more debate is good, especially when it comes to politics. And I would argue, I don't know that the framers ever said anything like this. They may have, but you know, I would argue that actually we should want to hear from people like Mahmoud Khalil, who comes from an refugee, you know, was born in a refugee camp, I believe. That helps us better to understand foreign policy. And the idea that we should just deport people because they say things that are uncomfortable to our ears is antithetical to the principles underlying the First Amendment. So there, in my opinion, you know, doctrinally, principally, and legally, it's just totally off base. And the Supreme Court has actually said that non-citizens have First Amendment rights. They said that during the Red Scare era. And there were a couple of cases that I sort of skirted the line, and I would say generally I disagree with the Supreme Court's reasoning, but I think they can also be cabined. They basically said that it was okay to deport non-citizens for membership in the Communist Party, but that was a time when it was okay to punish citizens for membership in the Communist Party. So was sort of like, well, you can punish this person, that this is the form of punishment that can take place because they're not a citizen. We recognize now that you couldn't punish a citizen for expressing the same views, or at least he shouldn't be able to. I guess maybe that is happening, but so you shouldn't be able to deport someone for those views either.
Yeah. So to me, it's so the justification that his speech can harm foreign policy objectives. And I know this is kind of written down in the Immigration and Nationality Act in 1952, but this seems philosophically very inconsistent with the First Amendment because how does one's speech harm a country's foreign policy interests? And assuming it could, it must also be possible for a citizen's speech to harm a foreign policy interest. Like, what's the difference? If you're saying speech can harm our foreign policy, then it doesn't matter if the person's a citizen or not. So then you have to ask, okay, well, what is the penalty for a citizen whose speech harms the foreign policy interest in the country? There seems to be none on the books that are applied specifically in this way, at least at the moment. So it seems to be like, either the government is saying non-citizens' opinions have more impact than those of citizens, which doesn't really make sense, or that citizens have more leeway to criticize the government than non-citizens, which again is antithetical to the First Amendment because of what you just said. The First Amendment is not the government granting freedom of speech to people. The First Amendment is a limitation on the government. It's a command that the government not interfere with every person's God-given right to free speech. So how do those things square?
Well, they don't. And that's why courts, for the most part, have read the foreign policy exception that you cited to encapsulate not speech. There's one court, to my knowledge, has said to the extent it does appear to encompass speech, then it's not constitutional. So either it's not constitutional if Congress intended it to encompass speech, or Congress didn't intend for it to include speech. I would say the probably easier thing for lawyers to argue, because courts don't like to strike down statutes, it's just to argue that Congress didn't intend to include speech in that. And the fact that it's been in effect since the 50s and is very rarely invoked and has not really been used to encompass pure political speech. But I mean, what Mahmoud Khalil did is pretty, run of the, like, he was a pro-Palestine human rights advocate. He didn't even advocate for violent resistance, although I would argue that you have the First Amendment right to do that, whether you're a citizen or not. He's repeatedly condemned anti-Semitism, never said anything anti-Semitic. So it's just total nonsense. It's a way of trying to get rid of someone who I think is actually quite an effective leader. That's probably why they targeted him. And you referred earlier to the BIA's, the Bureau of Immigration Appeals decision. I wasn't expecting anything different, to be honest. The immigration courts are really stacked at this point. And there was actually an article I read either today or yesterday about how Trump has fired a number of immigration judges who have found against him on these issues. Right. So this shows why Mahmoud Khalil's, we can get into the weeds if you want, of what the Third Circuit's decision was, but why that decision was so wrong-headed, because it effectively denies people recourse to the federal courts until they've exhausted their immigration appeals, which can be years. As we're seeing in this case, it looks like it's about a year or a little bit more. So these courts are not fair. They're part of DOJ. They're part of the executive. Your boss is the prosecutor. So, the incentives are not to be fair.
Well, it's just so crazy. I mean, even this conversation that we're having is something that is so obviously beyond the curiosities of a guy like Donald Trump. And I think part of why Donald Trump appeals to so many people, or at least did appeal at one time to so many people, not according to the numbers right now, is that, he has this very lizard-brained yes or no approach to things, right? I mean, the question that he asked himself and that he asked the voters is, should immigrants be allowed to come in here and trash America? And there are a lot of people who just say, well, no. Yeah. And there's such danger in setting policy that way or enforcing law in that way. And this is the thing that drives me crazy. And I'm going to toss to you in a second, because I would think, as someone who spent so much time sort of engaging with right-wingers who oppose the COVID tyranny, don't you understand how the government's saying, well, we can deny this group their speech rights? Don't you see how it's the exact same thing as 2 weeks to flatten the curve?
Yes,
it's the exact same thing. Because I'm sure 2 weeks to flatten the curve, I mean, it made sense to a lot of people at the time. Hey, there's this virus. We don't know anything about it. we don't want to die. We don't want to give up our rights, but we also don't want to die. So, hey, maybe 2 weeks to flatten the curve. In this case, why not, right? But why not is because once you flip that switch, once you give the government that kind of power to just arbitrarily decide, okay, who has rights and when and for what, at that point, you're giving them the power to do whatever they want to whoever they want.
Yeah, exactly. I was just talking to people about this, conservatives about this, who are actually very wise conservatives. They actually are on my side with it. But the justification behind this was basically our policy is anti-Semitism around the world, our foreign policy. And Mahmoud Khalil, by being pro-Palestinian human rights, is anti-Semitic. I mean, that's a logical flaw there, but set that aside. So conservatives should realize there might be a President Newsom or whoever, AOC or whatever, in a few years, and they could say, it's our foreign policy to be pro-trans rights around the world. And non-citizens who say, I don't think children should undergo sex change surgery should be deported because that's antithetical to our foreign policy views about the rights of trans people around the world. This exact same logic can be imported to that situation. And then are you going to be a fan of that policy? I don't think so.
Right. No, this is the wokest shit. Like they turned out to be the wokest snowflakes of them all. It's just it's really unbelievable. It's unbelievable to see. But while we're on the topic of Mahmoud Khalil, just to back things up a little bit, you talked about getting in the weeds of this. Do you want to just talk a little bit about what you think is going to happen in his case, since it obviously does not look good at this point?
Well, there's his immigration case and there's his federal case, and those are two separate things. So he filed a petition in federal court basically saying, anybody in the United States has the right to file what's called the habeas petition, basically saying that their detention violates the federal constitution. So he did that, and ultimately that case wound up in the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. And the Third Circuit said, they didn't say he doesn't have First Amendment rights, but they said, we don't have jurisdiction. He has to exhaust his immigration appeals before the federal courts can hear the case. That's a big problem because it can take months or years to go through, as I mentioned, through the immigration system. So I actually wrote an amicus brief, like a friend of the court brief, that was signed on to by a number of free speech organizations like FIRE and can't off the top of my head, not some left, some right, but basically saying this is antithetical to the First Amendment. The idea that somebody could be detained for months or years while their speech is being chilled, and also sending a chilling effect to other non-citizens, is not what the framers had in mind, and you should have recourse to the federal courts before that. So we're hoping that the entire Third Circuit Court of Appeals rehears the case. This was a 3-judge panel. What happens when you go to a federal court of appeal is that your case gets assigned to a random 3-judge panel. Well, it's theoretically random. There are a lot of rumors that it's not as random as we're supposed to believe, but let's set that one aside. So it gets assigned to a 3-judge panel, but there are about 30 judges or so, depending on the circuit, in this circuit. So you can, if you think the decision is really bad, you can ask for all of the judges of the circuit to rehear the case. And that's what we're doing. We're saying, well, I'm not representing him, but he is saying that, and then we're backing him up as like free speech organizations, basically saying this is really important. You guys all need to hear this case and vacate the really bad decision the 3-judge panel issued. It was 2 out of 3 judges issued that decision. So there was a dissenter.
Got it. Okay, so before we move on to our next topic, I didn't want to brush past this too much. You are starting, I guess, last week, posting weekly on your Substack about the free speech offenses of the Trump administration. Do you want to just tell us a little bit more about this project and where people can find it? Did you just start this Substack, or are you kind of repurposing it?
So I actually opened one a year ago and never did anything with it.
Got it. Yeah.
But I decided to try to start posting weekly commentary. I wouldn't say just restricted to the Trump administration, but to First Amendment issues sort of writ large in our country. So I'll just be doing weekly commentary, if not more. I have another one ready to go tomorrow, so I'll be posting it.
Okay, awesome. And where can people find that?
I think it's just my name on Substack.
Oh, JeninYounes.substack.com. There you go.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right, let's talk a little bit about Iran. because there's news every day about Iran. So looks like Iran talks failed. U.S.-Iran peace talks end without a deal as delegations leave Pakistan. The U.S. and Iran failed to reach an agreement to end their war despite marathon talks that concluded on Sunday in the Pakistani capital, Islamabad, jeopardizing a fragile ceasefire. Each side blamed the other for the failure of the 21-hour negotiations to end fighting that has killed thousands, roiled the global economy, and sent oil prices soaring since it began more than 6 weeks ago. So here is J.D. Vance announcing no deal.
For 21 hours, and we've had a number of substantive discussions with the Iranians. That's the good news. The bad news is that
J.D. Vance is like the Punxsutawney Phil of the Middle East. It's like Groundhog Day. Vice President comes out and says there is no deal.
The good
War
news.
will continue.
The bad news is that we have not reached an agreement, and I think that's bad news for Iran much more than it's bad news for the United States of America. So we go back to the United States having not come to an agreement.
They're afraid
We've made
of you.
very clear what our red lines are, what things we're willing to accommodate them on, and what things we're not willing to accommodate them on. And we've made that as clear as we possibly could, and they have chosen not to accept our terms. Questions?
Oh, boy. Iran's parliamentary speaker, Mohammad Bakr Kalibaf, who led his country's delegation along with Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, blamed the U.S. for not winning Iran's trust despite his team offering forward-looking initiatives. The U.S. has understood Iran's logic and principles, and it's time for them to decide whether they can earn our trust or not, Kalibaf said on X. Both the U.S. and Iranian delegations have now left Islamabad to return home, Pakistani sources told Reuters. The talks after a ceasefire earlier in the week were the first direct U.S.-Iranian meeting in more than a decade and the highest level discussions since the 1979 Islamic Revolution. Pakistan's Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar said it was imperative to preserve the 2-week ceasefire that was agreed last Tuesday as the sides attempt to wind down a war that began on February 28th with airstrikes by the U.S. and Israel on Iran. Israeli Security Cabinet Minister Ziv Elkin told Army Radio that more talks were still an option, but added the Iranians are playing with fire. And yeah, here's Netanyahu saying war with Iran is not yet over. Now, this video is not translated, but anytime Netanyahu's standing in front of a map, I think you could pretty much take it for granted that it's not good. Not good. Yeah, it's not good. Pointing. No. When you have those countries in red and he's pointing at them and screaming, that's not good. That's not
הם
good.
איימו עלינו בהשמדה, והם עכשיו נלחמים לשרוד. אנחנו הכינו בהם, יש לנו עוד מה לעשות, ואני תכף אפרט את זה. אבל אני רוצה להתחיל דווקא באיראן עצמה.
Yeah, not good at all. No, with the big point there, no.
They're all in red, the devil's color.
Yeah. Even I mean, I've been to too many Passovers to know when they point like that, no matter what, it's not good. That finger point is not good. Here's Trump. We're negotiating whether we make a deal or not. Makes no difference to me. The reason is because we've won.
Oh, okay.
In addition to that, we're negotiating whether we make a deal or not. Makes no difference to me. It is because we've won, whether you listen to the fake news or not,
Okay, we've won. Very good. Well, hey, here he is going there to straighten things out, right? Oh, no, sorry, I didn't read that correctly. No, there he is arriving at the UFC 327 fight in Miami tonight. So while our diplomats, which is the son-in-law, the real estate guy, and Punxsutawney Phil there, the groundhog, here he is arriving in Miami for a big UFC fight. There's Marco Rubio, best Secretary of State in American history, Team 305, at the fight with Donald Trump as these negotiations are breaking down. Here's Donald Trump hitting on one of the fighters.
What you doing? You're a beautiful guy. Great fighter. You're a beautiful guy. Put me tomorrow that you'll win this fight. I'll give you a money. You look so good. You're too good looking to be a fighter. You are a sub fighter. Thank you, man. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
That's funny. Thank you, Mr. Trump.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Trump. That's as things are breaking down. We're at war, and the Secretary of State is fucking blackout drunk. He does look sauce there, though. I don't know if he had anything to drink or if that was just a bad photo, but yeah, this is what's going on. Here's Donald Trump and Joe Rogan yucking it up here as negotiations break down. Yep. Just crazy. But he has a prediction. He has a prediction. He predicts good news. He says, I predict they come back and give us everything we want. And I told my people, I want everything.
Them to the bargaining table, and they haven't left. They haven't left the bargaining table. I predict they come back and they give us everything we want. And I told my people, I want everything. I don't want 90%. I don't want 95%. I told them, I want everything.
Well, and what they
have
want...
no cards, Maria.
Yep.
They have no cards. Their Navy is gone. Their Air Force is gone. Totally gone. They have nothing. They have no ships.
Okay. So, once again, Jenin, as someone who's spent time in left and right-wing circles, can you imagine if a Democratic president were, like, at an event like that while the vice president and his son-in-law were negotiating with Iran in this ultra high stakes moment? Like, I find myself asking myself so many times, the test is, what if a Democrat did it? What would the reaction be?
Yeah, I mean, there are so many things that are so crazy about this. I have to say, there's rumor going around that the compromise the Zionists have on Trump is that he's gay, or at least bi, and that whole like "you're a beautiful man" thing didn't really.
Yeah, no,
didn't really do much.
I've been talking about the gay undercurrents of the MAGA movement for a very long time. I think it's very obviously a cult of man love. I mean, I think it's men who love strong men. And I think the more the real diehard base digs in, the less and less any other explanation makes sense. Like, these people are just in love with him because they see him as the alpha, and they know they're not alphas. So they are literally, they feel romantic and sexual love for him. I think that's a real thing.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who has no love for either side, I will say I think that Democrats will excuse equally bad behavior by their own party. So I'm not like only the MAGA people do this, but it's utterly insane. I mean, there's so many things about what you just showed that are insane. Like, we clearly have lost the war. We clearly have no bargaining chip. The Israelis are clearly driving our policy. Like, we were in this 10-point ceasefire deal, and then which included not continuing to bomb Lebanon. And then they, within 12 hours, or at least 24, were bombing Beirut, conducted the worst massacre of Lebanon in the last at least decade. I mean, this is just shocking stuff. Our foreign policy is clearly not being driven by the best interests of our country.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's as obvious as anything you've ever seen. And just absolute, I mean, there's stuff I can't show because it's Paramount Plus, and I'm certain they will have that copyright block. But I don't know if you've seen on X the footage comparing Trump's 2025 entrance to the UFC fight versus
I have.
this year.
I think Max Blumenthal posted it.
Blumenthal posted it. A few other accounts posted it, but it is absolutely night and day. You know, they first of all, I know from experience, the Kid Rock song, the retard song that's their anthem now, is what they blare on the speaker. That's copyright blocked too, so I couldn't show it anyway. But they blast this music when he comes in now because the response is either muted or it's boos. Like I've never seen a politician squander a political mandate as quickly as Trump has. It's just extraordinary to see.
I do think he's mentally compromised. I think he probably has dementia or something. It's like weird we cannot get a president who doesn't have dementia. That's maybe a topic for another day, or maybe not. But I don't think he's totally there, and I think he's very malleable at this point. So, and the people around him, I mean, he's listening to people like Laura Loomer, who are just completely out of their minds.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, we're going to cover, later on the show, Trump's just lashing out at his MAGA all-stars. And it's true, people like Loomer, people like Shapiro, people like Levin, he has really just like shacked up with a crowd who were largely never Trumpers. I mean, Laura Loomer always supported Trump, but like Levin did not support Trump in 2016. Ben Shapiro said he didn't even vote for Trump in 2016. And so Trump has really replaced so much of what made his movement so potent in the first place with this roster of people who the movement found themselves in staunch opposition to until this term, through the campaign, really through the campaign. So yeah, it is just really extraordinary to see this squandering of will. But you know, you've been posting about the war a lot, and you know, what were you thinking that day that we were all waiting with bated breath to see if he would follow through on that end of civilization threat? And what do you think is in the cards for this ceasefire here?
I was very nervous. I thought that it might be a nuclear bomb, and I actually had a meeting at he said it was like all hell was going to break loose. I think at 8 p.m. and I had a meeting at 6:30, and I was like in the meeting, and I was just like, I don't know what's going on. And then I got out at 7:30, and it was like ceasefire, and I was like, oh my god, the end of the world didn't happen. So it was an interesting day. And I was hopeful. And then when Israel started bombing Beirut, I was like, okay, Iran's not going to accept this. This is a clear violation of the terms. JD Vance is going on saying that wasn't part of the deal. I'm like, we can all read, right? Like it's number 3 in the version I have anyway, that says Israel will stop bombing Lebanon. I don't even know what to say anymore. It's so disturbing. It's harming our economy. This is not what the people who voted for him, that's why he's getting booed. The people who voted for him did not want this, for the most part, except for some diehard crazies. So it's at this point, it's just nuts.
Yeah. It's and it gets even crazier. So Trump this morning says, so there you have it. The meeting went well. Yeah, it went well. Most points were agreed to, but the only point that really mattered, nuclear, was not.
So the meeting went well, but the only thing that mattered wasn't
right. The only thing that the only thing that mattered didn't go well. Right. Other than that, it was great. Right. Effective immediately, the United States Navy, the finest in the world, will begin the process of blockading any and all ships trying to enter or leave the Strait of Hormuz. At some point, we will reach an all being allowed to go in, all being allowed to go out basis. But Iran has not allowed that to happen by merely saying there may be a mine out there somewhere that nobody knows about but them. This is world extortion. Oh, this is world extortion. And the leaders of countries, especially the United States of America, will never be extorted. I have also instructed our Navy to seek and interdict every vessel in international waters that has paid a toll to Iran. No one who pays an illegal toll will have safe passage on the high seas. We will begin destroying the mines the Iranians laid in the strait. Any Iranian who fires at us or at peaceful vessels will be blown to hell. Well, it sounds like you're threatening to blow peaceful vessels to hell if you're saying you're not allowed to pay an illegal toll. The blockade will begin shortly. We don't have to read the whole thing. But now, essentially, Iran blocking the Strait of Hormuz. Nah, Trump blocking the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah. So now he wants to block the Strait of Hormuz. Piers Morgan says, sorry, what? So having demanded the strait be opened on pain of all Iranian civilization being ended, President Trump is now going to shut it himself? Yep, it appears that's what's going to happen. So let's look at Fareed Zakaria interviewed this NATO guy. And these are usually the warmongers. These are usually the people who are telling you, yeah, no, this is doable. It's winnable. Victory is around the corner. We're about to turn a corner. But here he is explaining whether or not this is actually possible and enforceable.
How a blockade would work. I'm joined by Admiral James Stavridis, former NATO Supreme Commander. Jim, how you've traversed these straits dozens, maybe hundreds of times. Tell us how a blockade would work and how much American naval power would be required to make it work.
Well, I certainly agree with one thing the president said was the United States Navy is the finest in the world. I'll take that. But this is not trivial work. Any blockade is difficult because it's an open sea way. Historically, we are enormous supporters of freedom of navigation. So when you conduct a blockade, it is an act of war. And it is something that has grave consequence in terms of how you execute it. As to how many ships you would need, I'd say if I were the admiral in command and Admiral Brad Cooper is the CENTCOM commander, he will probably want to put 2 aircraft carrier strike groups. So that's 2 carriers. So he has plenty of air cover up above him. And then he'll want about a dozen destroyers and frigates. All of this would be arrayed in the southern part of the Gulf. All the way down outside the Gulf would be the U.S. forces. And then inside the Gulf, Fareed, you've got probably half a dozen American warships. And you'd want to bring in the Emirati Navy, the Saudi Navy. So you'd try and bottle it up on both sides. Bottom line, this is a big task. And it's a big gamble. So final thought here, what's the play? Why are we doing this? I think is going to be the question on most people's minds. And it's an economic squeeze. So if you think of this on a scale that runs from doing nothing, walking away from the table, ceasing hostilities, that runs to destroying the civilization of Iran, an economic blockade like this is right in the middle. It puts economic pressure on Tehran without destroying the oil facilities, which you'd want to preserve into the future. So big, complicated undertaking, hardly a trivial move on the chessboard we've been watching.
Okay, so militarily, it's not clear if this is doable. Economically, of course, is the other question. So here's Trump saying, as far as China is concerned, because of course China is depending on passage through the strait for their oil, they can send ships to us.
China is concerned. China can send their ships to us. China can send their ships to Venezuela. We told them, buy from Venezuela. We have a lot of overcapacity. We'd sell them, and we'll probably sell it for even less money. I have a very good relationship with President Xi of China. We work together very well. They're paying us substantial money, as you know. We've never got money before. You know,
Yeah, I'm sure they're very eager to do business with us. I'm sure they're very, very happy with us. But this is amazing. This is amazing. So, Bartiromo, this whole interview, like Trump is like a Rob Zombie movie at this point. Like, you know, there are some horror films that are like, you know, most of it is just dialogue. Most of it is pretty tame, but then there's a few real violent scenes. And then there's the Rob Zombie film where every second of it is depraved and R-rated. It's like every word out of this man's mouth is now insane and unhinged.
Yes.
So here is Bartiromo. It's amazing. It was like this interview must not have been more than a few minutes long. And there were like endless clips of just absolute insanity. So here she is saying, you said hundreds of super tankers are headed to the Gulf of America to buy oil. What can you tell us about that? And look at what he goes off on.
Referred to a post that hundreds of super tankers are headed to the Gulf of America to buy oil and gas from the U.S. What can you tell us about that, sir?
Well, I can tell you that it used to be called the Gulf of Mexico. That's what I can tell you. Now it's called the Gulf of America because of me. One of my little things that I did, you know, one of my little sidelines. And it's a great honor. People are so happy. You go to Louisiana, you go to Florida, you go to
they're so happy.
Texas.
Yeah.
They're so honored by it. I used to say, why is that the Gulf?
It's made a huge
Mexico
difference in my life.
Yeah, it's made a huge difference in their lives.
And, you know, it fronts 93% of
That's all they talked about at Thanksgiving, about the Gulf of
America.
America.
Gulf of America, what a beautiful name, and I did. And I
This goes on and
a lot
on.
of credit to Google because once I filed the papers, I did it, and Google Map. Once Google Map changed, you know, did it. It was a done deal. But we had lawsuits. We had lawsuits.
What about
we
the
won
gas?
everything, and
But the
it's now
oil.
the Gulf of America, which I'm very honored by.
Right.
But do you expect
Even she's like, yeah, okay.
Calling it the Gulf of Trump.
Yeah.
And I decided
she's trying not to laugh.
Yeah.
I think that one maybe wouldn't have worked out. I'm not so sure. You'll have to tell me. But I was thinking about it's going to be called the Gulf of Trump. And then I said, that's not going to play too well.
Okay. All right. So not much of an answer in that clip, at least. So here, let's get down to brass tacks. Do you believe the price of oil and gas will be lower before the midterms? And watch her reaction when he says it may be higher.
Believe the price of oil and gas will be lower before the midterm elections?
I hope so. I mean, I think so. It could be. It could be or the same or maybe a little bit higher. But it should be around a bit higher.
Yeah.
But,
Whoa.
It should be around.
Even
the
with
same.
all the
I think
Botox, it can still
won't be that much longer. They're wiped out, man. They're wiped out. And you don't get a fair shake. You don't get, we need a free and fair press in this country. And I don't even know why people would do that. Why would they say how wonderful they're doing militarily? They're doing so well. They're the country is wiped out.
God.
Just extraordinary. And so finally here he's like, hey, well, if you think the economy is bad, wait till a nuclear bomb goes off. We could have it that way.
This country from having a nuclear weapon. You want to see a stock market go down? Let a couple of nuclear bombs be dropped on us, or frankly, any place else, and you'll see a stock market that goes down. So the stock market has not gone down very much at all. Gone down a little bit, much less than I thought, and frankly, the gas hasn't gone up as much as I thought. But regardless, even if it did, we have to stop this group of people from having, and again, it was worse because Khomeini was a total, radical.
Right, now we have his gay son.
Maniac. He was a maniac.
Who lost his entire family to our.
I just have the greatest economy ever. Everything's going along, and I say, I'm sorry. I tell my economic advisors, I say, I'm sorry, fellas.
I like the subtitle. Iran has vowed death to him.
No, they've chanted mean things for 47 years.
Exactly.
Just unbelievable slop. But I love this at the end where he says,
economic advisor,
I tell my people.
I say, I'm sorry, fellas. We're in great shape. We have to go and take a little journey down to Iran, and we have to stop them from having a nuclear weapon.
So first of all, the economy was not in great shape before we decided to take this little journey. But there he is admitting, basically, that he knew this was going to cause economic ruin. Now, who knows what the hell's going to happen? I don't know if it's even possible that we can shut down the Strait of Hormuz. But this is just economic suicide. I mean, you're talking about plunging the whole world into a depression. Like it's truly psychotic. And then they send him out on TV and he sounds crazier and crazier every single piece of video that you see. So I mean, what's your take on that? What do you think is going to happen here? We seem to just be headed towards a point of no return.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to make predictions because it's very hard on such a chaotic world. I try to be a little bit positive because I have a young son, so I like to think like, like we're not, things aren't going to be totally horrible. It's a little bit hard to be optimistic. I can say we've invested a lot in gold and guns recently. But I mean, he's completely nuts. It's hard to know how much he's actually driving policy. Obviously, some extent. I mean, people got kind of mad at the right-wing commenters like Clay Travis, who were like, "Oh, just like ignore his crazy like hyperbolic tweets." And I understand being like, well, it's the president, so like we shouldn't just ignore his crazy hyperbolic tweets threatening, implicitly nuclear war. And I'm sympathetic to that view. But on the other hand, like maybe he just says things and it doesn't, I mean, he was making this threat and then there was the ceasefire, but it also looks like that there's not going to be any deal. And I don't think there's going to be a deal because Israel doesn't want it. And Israel's ultimately running our foreign policy. And I don't know, we have to break that or else we're not going to get our country back. That's the only way.
Yeah. I mean, you really do sense that he is, as Candace Owens called him and Tucker Carlson called him, a slave. Like he's not acting like a person with agency here. And on top of that, he just seems to be flailing. And I think part of why he is at such liberty to just make up different shit every day is because of what you just said. Like, if he's not really calling the shots here anyway, then it's of less consequence what he says than what meets the eye. I mean, we saw that NATO guy there. I don't even know if they're able to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. The UK
I
has
don't
just
think so.
said,
I think it would take an enormous amount of Navy power that we don't actually have, or like definitely wouldn't call in. But
well, this is the other thing. I mean, the UK now says we will not be involved in Trump's Strait of Hormuz blockade. It's funny. Like, I always thought that the United States should leave NATO and that NATO should be disbanded, but I didn't think the price of that would be this. Like I thought it would happen some other way, because you really are talking about, I mean, and Tucker said this, you really are talking about the unwinding of the American empire and the complete isolation of the United States as a world power, because even these European allies have to be able to get oil. I mean, they're not into this. And it's the same playbook. I mean, when we went into Iraq, we held this grudge against the French for not joining us. There really is just insane to see how isolated we are becoming under this. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually not opposed to it, even though I'm an American. I'll personally be disadvantaged, and my family will be. But you can't act this way and not suffer consequences. And I don't understand. It's never been obvious to me why the United States and Israel should be able to go around being the world police and say, you can't have a nuke, you can't have a nuke, but we have nukes and we're the most violent ones on the planet. So, that I find that really frustrating. And I kind of think the dissolution of the United States power might be a good thing. Like, if we live in a more multipolar world, although that will obviously not be of personal advantage to me, yeah, I mean, it's untenable and it's unethical.
Well, I think, like, when it comes to the empire winding down, I think that was inevitable. And I think the question was, okay, who can bring it in for a softer landing? And this is another cruel irony of this. For a while there, it looked like Trump maybe be able to bring it in for a softer landing because of his, like, diplomatic outreaches to the North Koreans, and even, his better relationship with the Russians than the Democrats, who are extremely hawkish. Like, I don't think there was ever any question that our empire was winding down. I think the question was, how can we transfer that power as peacefully as possible? But the rules of history are that it just doesn't work that way. That empires just always lash out violently at the end, no matter who oversees them. And that seems to be what we're getting now.
Yeah, absolutely. He's clearly also, like, lashing out, and I think he'll probably blame the Europeans for the disaster that has been this war and say, well, we would have won if they had come to our aid, but they didn't. So even though it was just a horrible idea to begin with, whether or not the Europeans would have joined us.
Well, that's the off ramp. Is surrender and blame NATO and then leave NATO. Yeah, that's the best we can hope for now, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jenin, I know you have another show you got to do in a few minutes, so I really appreciate you making time for us today. Thanks so much. It was great to see you again. You want to just remind everybody where they can find you before you sign off?
Yes. My Twitter handle is at JeninYounesESQ. And I have a podcast called Previously Prohibited that I'm starting at 8. So
beautiful.
That's why I have to go. I promised my co-host, Mel, Village Crazy Lady, that we would do it at 8. So those are the places to find me. And I have my Substack that I'll be trying to do weekly, as I mentioned. So thank you so much for having me.
Beautiful. Jenin Younes, thanks so much for being here. Great to see you again.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Mm-hmm. Bye-bye. All right. Round of applause for Jenin Younes, everybody. Our friend Jose Vega is stopping by in a little while. He's got an announcement that he wants to make. And then I'll be doing some solo material tonight, just like we did last week. Had some fun with that. So appreciate you all being here. 2532 in the YouTube chat. Good for one. In the year 2525. But yes, please do follow Jenin. She's great. I was lucky. She had this, like, viral spat with J.D. Vance over the killing of Renee Good. And right after that, I interviewed her on the Jimmy Dore show, and we reviewed the tape and the footage. And so she's great. Definitely follow her on X and definitely sign up to her Substack. Great writer. Very principled, civil libertarian. There are very few of them in this space. There's essentially Greenwald and Jenin in terms of like people who are, I mean, there are other like principled libertarians in the commentator space, but they're like actual like lawyers who also do commentary. Like I think the Gray Zone guys, I think Jimmy is. I like to think we are. But hey, I'm just a simple country podcaster. I'm not a lawyer. You know, I don't have credentials. I don't have the ESQ next to my name. She's Jenin Younes, ESQ. So yeah, no ESQ for me. I just do my best. Hey, we got Jake Bowes in the chat tonight. Oh, sorry, was I not supposed to say that? Was I not supposed to out your name, your full name? I just, sorry, that slipped off the tongue. We got Jake in the chat tonight, as Russell calls him, Skinhead Jake. Skinhead Jake. So thank you, Jake, for being here. He just said LOL. All right, good. At least you don't have to. LOL is better than fuck you, I quit, I guess. So thanks, Jake, for that. Appreciate the support there. All right, let's take some super chats and some Rumble rants. And like I said, we got plenty more show tonight. We are at 750 in the like column. Awesome. I still have to get the thing. So I'm gonna use as an excuse. See, this is like the Curb Your Enthusiasm episode where Larry David, his mother dies, and he uses the fact that his mother died to like get out of things. So I had the memorial service for my mother yesterday, and so because I was busy planning that, and actually my wife Amanda did most of the heavy lifting on that. My wife and my brother. But I still had to do some. And so because of that, I forgot to order the prayer bowl and the bell, or the singing bowl and the prayer bell. So I'm going to use that as an excuse. That sounds like a good excuse. See, now it's on you not to give me a hard time about it. See, you can't give me a hard time about it now that I said it's because I was planning my mother's memorial. That would be very bad of you. See, so now it's on you guys. Mr. Fancy Pants, thanks for the $1.99 super chat over on YouTube. Hell yeah, brother. That's your sign on. Appreciate that, my friend. Everything's a scam. Everything's a lie. Everything's hypocrisy. And so you don't comply. Thank you, Vienticus. Appreciate that very much. Eric Rousseau, Russell likes big walls and he cannot lie. Yeah, go and check out Russ's video. So it's Russ on the Road, NYC. He's got a new video on China up. I just saw it before I signed on, so I didn't have a chance to watch it, but I'm sure it's very good. He's been posting some really cool photos to X and Facebook and all that. So make sure you go and check out his most recent video. Let's see. Kenman says, Keaton, I still miss Russ, but thanks for having the lovely and amazing Jenin Younes on your show. Well, thank you, Kenman. Appreciate that very much. Mary Beth, thanks for the $50 super sticker. Wow, thank you, Mary Beth, so much. That is very, very generous of you. Appreciate that very, very much. Hey, Keaton says, Race Car, how does Joe Kent's chin compare to the Chin Man on Newsmax? They both have pretty sharp chins. They both have very sharp chins. Joe Kent has a great chin. In fact, you might even say Joe Kent has a better chin than the Chin Man. It's not that the Chin Man has the best chin I've ever seen. It's that the only redeeming quality of the Chin Man is his chin, right? So don't get it confused. I'm not saying he has a superior chin. I'm saying he's got a good chin. And nothing else about him recommends him. So when I say that, he is a chin hire, that's what I mean. I mean that there's no other reason he could be hired except for his chin. Furrow Squeen says, good news. I went on a date today. Oh, wow. That's awesome. Thanks for letting us know that, Furrow Squeen. Congratulations. Please, can we have Dissident of the Week for which I go for being carried off by the pigs again for doing the right thing and protesting? He's a legend. Okay, all right. I buy that. I heard they're not giving the protesters as hard a time in the UK as they used to. Is that wrong? Anyway, shout out to Which I Go. Appreciate you giving him some recognition there, Furrow Squeen. Hope your date went well. Professor Brown note, fiction got nothing on reality. And mob movies, the jerk off everybody hates gets whacked. In our world, it gets to done the largest mafia ever seen. No gang like the government. Master Yoda says, join the American Communist Party. Thanks, Master Yoda. The Anticus Prime, you meant people who scream the loudest about something they don't like tend to also scream the loudest in order to do the same to someone else. Oh, the shock, the horror. How unexpected, right? Thanks, Vienticus. Vienticus says, I've decided to try my hand at writing haikus. I thought I'd share with you all. Sizzle, sizzle, drip. Crispy strips of meat and fat. The porcine glory. I like that. All right. I dig that one. I dig that. I think that's well done. Thank you, Vienticus. Appreciate that. Eric Rousseau, Trump should have hosted the WWE and not the UFC. Trump could have smashed a chair on the Mad Mullah, his chance to win. Exactly. He could have done that and declared victory. Or at the very least, he could have claimed that was some kind of like negotiating tactic. Right? Good call there. Let's see here. Ismail Me. Thanks for the $5.99.99. I don't know what currency that is, but that's a whole lot of something. So thank you very much for whatever that is. Appreciate that. JD Vance should have asked Russell to take a moment from his trip and stop by Pakistan instead of the two Netanyahu clowns, Kushner and Witkoff. Definitely would have done a better job of getting a deal done. Hi to Jenin. You basically had Witkoff and Kushner strike out, and then they bring in Vance at the Iranians' request, and after 21 hours, he leaves. He could have stayed longer. It's a sham. It's obviously a sham. If they really were serious about negotiating a peace, would you have the Secretary of State clowning it up at the fucking UFC fight while the negotiations were happening? Maybe the president is more a liability than anything else. So maybe you distract him, right? Maybe you give him the my pet goat moment, right? Send George Bush to Florida when 9/11 happens, right? Because, hey, better keep this guy out of the way. But you're telling me the Secretary of State wouldn't be reachable in that moment? He's going to be at the UFC fight. That's a serious negotiation. I'm sorry, that's not a serious negotiation. I don't buy that for a second. So, no, they were doomed to fail from the start. Brad Gilbert said, all political theater, all wars are bankers' wars. Politicians provide the distraction and outlet for our fear, anger, and hate that truly belongs to the banksters. Thank you, Brad Gilbert. Appreciate that. Gina and Heidi, thanks for the $1. Rubio has a foam room on his jets. I think the copyright practice just got stricken down in court. Is that right? The copyright oh, wow. I would be very interested. Thank you for that. Can you, Vienticus, can you email me a link to that? Because I'm not going to be able to copy and paste that, but I would love to watch whatever you're linking to, because it is totally insane. I mean, the copyright strike practice on YouTube is just totally insane. There's just so much power to the claimer and little to no power to the creators, because so much of YouTube is fair use. That's what we do. We play stuff and we comment on it. And so, yeah, I'd be very interested to see that. Thanks for that. Pete Sweet says, Alistair Crook on the Chris Hedges report believes that Israel is using nuclear blackmail if U.S. stops the war. Israel has a nuclear gun to our heads. Totally possible. Totally possible. I mean, they have a Samson option, assuming they have a bomb, right? I mean, that puts the whole world in a very, very precarious position. No doubt about that. No doubt about that. 6-pack for me. Thanks for the $5. The Global Samud Flotilla set sail today for Gaza. Free Palestine. Wow. That is especially brave. See, I didn't even see that. There's so much news now, like you can't even keep track of it, even if you try. Like, it is just so difficult to keep track of everything. Like, I was glued to Twitter all day putting the show together. And turns out I must have missed that. I had not heard about that. But obviously, Godspeed to them. A particularly dangerous time to be doing that. Still, obviously, a very, very noble mission. No doubt about that. Okay, just got to plug some things in here, get some videos ready since I'm a one-man operation from here on out, although we will be joined by Jose Vega in a little while. Jose has some campaign updates that he wants to give us, and his campaign is having a live stream event tomorrow, which I will be part of. I will be submitting a pre-recorded video to that event tomorrow, so you will see me if you tune in there. Let me see here. I think Jenin accidentally signed into the wrong StreamYard because she's doing her show, but I could see her on the StreamYard. Okay. All right. Did she message me or something? Did I see something? Let's see in private chat. No. Okay. All right. Let's move right on along here. Okay. So, folks, big news right after I signed off with Rex Jones. So we're doing the show on Thursday with guest host Rex Jones, son of Alex Jones, of course. And, we're doing a normal show. It's running about 3 hours. It's going really well. I think the show has a great rhythm, a great flow. We're getting through our segments. Turns out, just about 20 minutes before we signed off, Donald Trump fired off this beauty. And we had the opportunity to cover this with Rex Live, but we missed it because we were doing our jobs. And what do I say all the time? I say the news moves so incredibly fast nowadays that literally, as you sign off on one show, your work starts for the next show. Happens over and over and over again. On Tuesday, we sign off with Kit at whatever it was, 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and boom, 6:30, news of the ceasefire break. So bear with us at this time, but we have to take things little by little here. So here's Donald Trump, fires this off on Thursday. I know why Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones have all been fighting me for years, especially by the fact that they think it is wonderful for Iran, the number one state sponsor of terror, to have a nuclear weapon. Because they have one thing in common, low IQs. They're stupid people. They know it. Their families know it. And everyone else knows it too. Look at their past. Look at their record. They don't have what it takes, and they never did. They've all been thrown off television, lost their shows, and aren't even invited on TV because nobody cares about them. They're nut jobs, troublemakers, and will say anything necessary for some free and cheap publicity. Now they think they get some clicks in quotes, because they have third-rate podcasts, but nobody's talking about them, and their views are the opposite of MAGA. Okay, time out. We're going to get more into this later because we're going to get into the responses here. But when you look at that statement there, now they think they'll get some clicks because they have third-rate podcasts. What you're assuming there is that the money is in the wilderness, that the real money is in becoming politically homeless, which I can tell you, as someone who has been politically homeless for the last 10 years, is completely and totally untrue. The money is always with the party. And in this case, it's with the president. The money is always in towing the line. Even now, even when Donald Trump's poll numbers are plummeting, you still have 30 some odd % of the country who supports Donald Trump, which means feeding them the slop that they want to be fed, that they want to see, that they want to hear, is always, always, always the more marketable thing to do than saying, you know what, I'm out. That's why it's amazing when you see people in this space who choose none of the above or who are engaged in post-duopoly politics. When you hear them being called grifters, I always think to myself, it's the exact opposite. If you were a grifter, you would do the Pod Save America thing, or you would do the Eric Doherty thing, or you would do the Gunther Eagleman thing. If you're a grifter, you always pick a side and just feed the base. So it's just ridiculous that the clicks are in breaking away from Donald Trump. He goes on. He says, or I wouldn't have won the presidential election in a landslide. You won the presidential election in a landslide because you had the help and support of Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones. It was that diversity of support that really built your coalition into the formidable force that it was. And now you've lost just about all of it and replaced what little of it remains with Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro. MAGA agrees with me and just gave CNN a 100% approval rating of Trump, not hand-flailing fools like Tucker Carlson who couldn't even finish college. He was a broken man when he got fired from Fox, and he's never been the same. Perhaps he should see a good psychiatrist. Perhaps you should see a good psychiatrist, sir. Megyn Kelly, same, perhaps, Megyn Kelly, who nastily asked me the now famous only Rosie O'Donnell question. Yes, that was the bleeding from her wherever line. Or crazy Candace Owens, who accuses the highly respected First Lady of France of being a man, when she is not, and will hopefully win lots of money in the ongoing lawsuit. Actually, to me, the First Lady of France is a far more beautiful woman than Candace. In fact, it's not even close. Or, and now he goes for it, bankrupt Alex Jones, who said some of the dumbest things and lost his entire fortune, as he should have, for his horrendous attack on the families of the Sandy Hook shooting victims, ridiculously claiming it was a hoax. Okay, so this is particularly incredible because we all remember the interview that he gave to Alex Jones in 2016, where he says, you know, you're a great guy and I will never let you down. You know, happy to engage with Alex Jones when he needed something from Alex Jones, when he needed something that Alex Jones was giving him that Alex Jones had really not given any other major politician in his lifetime, which was support. And whatever you think of Alex Jones, we've, of course, had our criticisms, to put it mildly, of Alex Jones. And, you know, I do not condone Alex Jones's behavior vis-a-vis that case, although I did say at the time, and I maintain to this day, that he was made an example of by the justice system. That was not a ruling based in justice. That was a ruling based in not just revenge, but more importantly, in setting an example. Setting an example. And what example were they trying to set? Well, this is where this dig at Alex Jones becomes really ironic and really two-faced, because Alex Jones was bankrupted not because of what he said about Sandy Hook. Alex Jones was monetized on YouTube for years after Sandy Hook. He was monetized on YouTube through 2016. Alex Jones was bankrupted because he supported Donald Trump and because Donald Trump won. That was clearly the example they were trying to set. That's when Alex Jones lost his YouTube channel. He lost his YouTube channel after he helped Trump win the presidency. YouTube was happy to cash in on that ad revenue from Alex Jones' channel for 6 years after Sandy Hook. So Sandy Hook wasn't what bankrupted Alex Jones. It was Alex Jones' support for Donald Trump that bankrupted Alex Jones. The reason Alex Jones has nothing now is because he went all in for Trump. And Trump won. And that's the kind of guy Trump is. Now he's going to pull the Sandy Hook card on Alex Jones. So just shows you what a treacherous guy he is. These so-called pundits are losers, and they always will be. Now fake news CNN, the failing New York Times, and all of the other radical left news organizations are hailing them and giving them positive press for the first time in their lives. They're not MAGA, they're losers, just trying to latch on to MAGA. Who's latching on to MAGA? Mark Levin was not MAGA. Mark Levin was a never Trumper. Mark Levin was a diehard Ted Cruz supporter. Ben Shapiro did not vote for Donald Trump in 2016. These guys here, Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, Candace Owens. I mean, you talk about these are the OGs of MAGA. And now you're saying they're just trying to latch onto it. Again, it's just completely ahistorical. I could get them on my side anytime I want to, but when they call, I don't return their calls because I'm too busy on world and country affairs. And after a few times, they go nasty, just like Marjorie Trader Brown. But I no longer care about that stuff. I only care about doing right for our country. MAGA is about winning and strength in what? Not allowing Iran to have nuclear weapons. Oh, when will it say? You know, this guy might not be beating Iran, but he's beating me. I gotta say, this is hard to tell. Like, it is just, it is hard to tell. Since when was MAGA about not allowing Iran to have nuclear weapons? When did you mention that a single time? A single day? You've been a political figure for 10 fucking years. Not once did we hear anything about Iran having nuclear weapons until 7-8 months ago, or whatever it was. Feels like 7-8 years ago. June of last year. What's that? It's almost a year ago now. Wow. I never thought I'd say it, but actually, time has flown. Time has flown. Amazing. MAGA's not about infrastructure anymore. MAGA's not about the working class anymore. MAGA's not even about your fucking crazy, fucking paranoid, lunatic border hawk bullshit anymore, apparently. Not that I really ever agreed with that, but hey, say what you want about the tenets of National Socialism, dude. At least it's an ethos, right? No, you don't. Nothing about that anymore. He's talking about this, and then the next thing on the agenda, apparently, the next thing on the MAGA agenda, apparently, is Cuba. We're going to overthrow the government of Cuba. He talked about that's going to be next. The guy's just on a rampage around the world while you got rural hospitals closing here because of the fucking one big beautiful bill. Like, this is the single greatest rug pull in the history of American politics, bar none. Bar none. MAGA is about not letting Iran have nuclear weapons. Okay. MAGA is about making America great again, and these people have no idea how to do that. But I do, because the United States is now the hottest country anywhere in the world. President Donald J. Trump. Well, we're going to get into the individuals mentioned in this Truth Social post. Those will be separate pieces because, well, not all three separate pieces, but I will cut it up how I feel I should. Because there's a lot to get into there, and there's a lot to analyze there. But before we get into any of them, let's just get into some of Donald Trump's own supporters and own followers on Truth Social. Trump's followers on Truth Social are extremely upset about his attacks on Candace Owens, Megyn Kelly, Alex Jones, and Tucker Carlson. What? Says Cali MAGA 69. You are way out of line. Most of these people, especially Alex Jones, have been your day ones. You need to step back and take a good hard look at who is whispering in your ear. Get back to America first. I've personally put up with years of abuse from the whack jobs out here in Cali for showing my support for you. But after this, I'm hanging up my red MAGA hat you signed. Get right, Trump. I'm also getting my tit tattoo removed of Make America Great Again. Not just the hat. I'm getting the tit tat washed off as well, or scraped off, however that works. Never been my thing. I'm just a fair-skinned Jew boy from New York. Trump just going against everyone that fought for him to win just because the Epstein files and being at war with Iran for Israel. They didn't leave MAGA. MAGA left them. MAGA left me too. So sad to see. You had so much potential, Trump. Voted for you all 3 times. And I feel so betrayed. The gray area. I don't know if this is Rex Jones himself, but I doubt it, though. It doesn't look like it. It looks like a Red Sox fan. I don't think Rex is a Red Sox fan. So we can only listen to Mark Levin for news. These people helped you get elected. You are actively alienating your base every day. This is sad. Blake, the pot calling the kettle black. Hilarious. Sounds like a 5th grader. Donald Trump is a loser. Misty says, as of last week, they've done nothing but make excuses for your behavior, and you think they're the enemy. They are why I am a triple Trumper. Whoever is telling you this is very wrong. They have been trying to tell you how a large percentage of Americans see things. I was confident that you knew what you were doing, but this is truly scary. Mark Winslow says, lost my support. Yeah, so when you look at the responses to this, you're really seeing more evidence of just how detached from reality Donald Trump has become. And when you look at that CNN poll, which had the 100% MAGA support, and you look at that coming right on the heels of the big Larry Ellison merger, when everybody suspected CNN may take a pro-Trump turn, there were a lot of people on X who commented how irresponsible it was to put a poll like that out, because he has latched on to that ever since, and he has not let go of that ever since. You have to think of what a MAGA Republican is, right? I mean, you have to be especially tuned in to consider yourself MAGA, but not a Trump supporter. Like here, we think of a lot of original MAGA people as having left the Trump movement, and they leave the Trump movement because they say what we saw in that Truth Social post, which is, hey, I'm still MAGA. Trump left MAGA, right? I didn't leave MAGA. I left Trump. Trump abandoned MAGA. So I'm still MAGA, but I'm not pro-Trump. That's a lot of parsing, right? There's a lot of subtlety involved in coming to that calculation, a level of subtlety that the average person answering a CNN poll is not really comfortable with. The average person, when they hear, "Are you MAGA?" they think of that as the exact question as, "Do you support Donald Trump?" They don't know the difference between you asking them if they're a Trump supporter and asking them if they're MAGA. To the average person, when you ask, "Are you MAGA?" it's like asking, "Do you support Donald Trump?" So when you ask a person a question like that, they are likely to answer yes on both counts. I'm MAGA and I'm pro-Trump. And that's how they got to that 100% number. And Trump has cited that 100% number multiple times since. And that is the bubble that he lives in. But the final irony of this from Tricia Hope, national delegate from Texas, Charlie would be on this list if they hadn't killed him. Yeah, 100%. There's no doubt in my mind that if Charlie Kirk had lived to see this day, he would be on this list. There's no doubt he would be on this list. He spoke out against the 12-day war the first time and warned against getting in too deep the first time. Spoke out very, very loudly against the undue influence of people like Lindsey Graham on Donald Trump's policymaking when it came to the Middle East, Iran in particular. So you have to imagine that, yes, if Charlie Kirk were alive today, he would be on this list. Was he not MAGA anymore? Was he glomming on to the MAGA movement? Are you prepared to say that about him? Notice Donald Trump has very, very little to say about Charlie Kirk. At his State of the Union address, he goes on for 6, 7, 8 minutes about the fucking hockey team that Kash Patel went and slammed beers with after they won their stupid hockey game. 7, 8 minutes about them. Charlie Kirk, I think if you time it, counting applause, it was like 1 minute and 10 seconds. Like 1 minute and 10 seconds. And he's going to say that these people mentioned in this tweet here just latched on to the MAGA movement, that they're not OG MAGA people. They're not real MAGA people. He knows what real MAGA is. It's quite pathetic. It's quite pathetic to see. And once again, just really ironic that broke while I was on the air with Alex Jones's son. And I just did not get around to seeing it until immediately after. As soon as we got off the air, I saw it. I texted Rex. I said, "Could you believe we missed this?" But the good news is Rex Jones had, because he was doing 3 shows that day. He did one in the morning, then he did mine in the afternoon, then he had his show that night. And there's always, when you do multiple shows a day, because I've done that in the past, there's always a fear that you're going to have to repeat stuff. You have to say the same thing over and over again. But when we logged off, not only did Trump fire off that tweet about his dad, among others, but you also had that fucking bonkers Melania Trump Epstein press conference. I did not know Jeffrey Epstein. I did not make a sucky fucky to Jeffrey Epstein. I did not do it. We should have an investigation. That's like Miss Peacock coming out and saying, I don't even own a lead pipe. I don't own a lead pipe, and I don't have a study. I call my study my library. So everybody who's saying Miss Peacock in the study with the lead pipe, you're wrong. I don't even own a lead pipe. Just amazing. So the news never stops. The news never stops. All right. We're going to take a super chat break in a few minutes, but I do want to take a special time out here to admit a guest here with a special announcement. He is a good friend of the show, currently a candidate on both the Democratic and soon-to-be independent ballot line for New York's 15th district, running against Richie Torres. Our friend Jose Vega is here. Jose, what's up?
Hey, Keaton, that's a nice shirt you're wearing, by the way. We're almost, like, I logged in and I saw you're wearing this shirt, and I looked in mine, I realized it's going to look pretty interesting.
It looks like rhubarb. That's what this shirt looks like. It's like a stick of rhubarb.
You actually intervened on that debate in a beautiful way, because the New York journalists, you may not know this, your audience may not know this, but I debated Michael Blake recently, and thank you for streaming that. Journalists were watching your stream, and the reason I know they're watching your stream was because there's a clip that's going viral, and it's the moment where Michael Blake is like, I just want it on the record that it is reprehensible. Reprehensible. But the funny thing is, the journalist who cropped the video cropped you out, so it sounds like a member from the Zoom lobby is laughing.
Oh, wow.
So and then you get the guy who interrupts. So you made Michael Blake seem like a little drama queen.
That's funny. I didn't even realize that, because when I saw the clips circulating, I didn't see myself there, so I had no reason to think that I was in them. And of course, I didn't watch the clips because I watched the whole debate live, so I just didn't even think to check. That's funny.
Yeah,
That's
funny. It's hilarious, because there's this stupid.
What's the tweet? Send me the tweet, and then I'll play it here. I'm curious.
Here, I pulled it up here. What do? I just put it in the studio chat?
Put it in the private chat. Yeah, put it in the private chat, and I'll show it. That's funny.
This is a New York. This guy writes for Politico, professional Albany beef maker. That's what he calls himself. He writes for Politico, and he has this hilarious caption. I guess you'll put it up in a second, but one of the people that work on my campaign said the format was debate by gong show, because every 60 seconds.
That's funny. Okay, so all right, so just to fill the audience in on what happened. So for those of you who didn't watch the stream, Jose debated Michael Blake. It was a virtual debate. Richie Torres was invited. He declined, and so I streamed it to our Rumble channel, because I didn't want the group giving me a hard time about showing, because they were not responsive when I asked what the deal was. So I was like, you know what, Rumble backs up their people, so I'm like, oh, you just do it on Rumble just in case. All right, so I'm sitting, just like whenever we play a video, we're in the side of the frame and the thing is going. Okay, so I've seen this tweet. So this is great. So this is apparently taken from my Rumble channel.
Yeah, and you'll know, because you'll hear yourself laughing at the best time. So
okay, so
but it looks like it's a Zoom member, who is in the debate laughing, because you're not seen in it.
Right. So the tweet here says, what would happen if you gave random audience members the ability to unmute themselves in a Zoom congressional debate? Mike Blake and moderator in New York 15 found out. So apparently it's not the laugh that you're going to hear is my laugh doing running commentary on the debate, not that of a random audience member. I saw this tweet, and the reason I didn't think anything of it, because if you remember, there was this one point in the debate where somebody, maybe an audience member, starts getting on one of the moderators for stating his opinion.
That's what this is, yeah.
Oh, that's what this is.
Yeah, you'll see, but your laugh is what is in this too.
It's in here. Okay,
yeah,
all right.
You'll see, because it's all this beautiful cacophony of a gong and just play.
Well, I thought it was so funny because you called him part of the Epstein class, and he was very, very offended by that. You didn't accuse him of doing anything with Epstein. It's a class. It's a milieu.
Exactly.
You were saying you're part of the establishment. You're part of a system that is connected to Epstein. You didn't make any accusation against him, but he was super. Right.
Yeah.
No, you didn't say he was. No, you didn't say anything like that. But he got super offended at that. So, all right. So let's take a look at this. This is funny. All right. So we're gonna juice the volume and hit play.
Very clearly that it is reprehensible that Jose Vega literally just said, I'm a part of the Epstein class. Reprehensible. reprehensible.
I'm
No,
sorry.
hold on, Yasser. Yasser, I heard the point. I just heard the point. I just want to make sure that we're very clear.
That's great.
That this individual.
Giving your opinion.
No,
I'm sorry. You shouldn't be giving your opinion.
That's great. So the guy who, I'll replay that. So, but the guy who clipped this, somebody at some point must have knowingly clipped me out.
Yeah.
And knew that this wasn't just a random Zoom guy, that it was me.
Yeah.
Right? Do you think that was this guy, or do you think this guy found the video somewhere and just decided to run with it? Because like somebody would have known that it was me on the side.
No, I mean, clearly the person got the video from your Rumble, not from the Zoom.
Right.
And they made a choice to clip you out. I guess they probably just thought, well, it's too much context to explain why there's a guy floating, so let's just
yeah. So they made it set, but I mean that is important to know because it's not the debate moderator's fault. Like I was just playing it. All right, here we go.
I do want to say very clearly that it is reprehensible that Jose Vega literally just said, I'm a part of the Epstein class. Hensible. No, hold on, Yasser. Yasser, I heard the point. I just heard the point. I just want to make sure that we're very clear that this individual
giving your opinion. Yasser,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You shouldn't be giving your opinion. You shouldn't be giving your opinion.
Okay, so this guy here. So this guy who butts in, you shouldn't be giving your opinion. That was a Zoom guy. That just came from nowhere. That was like an audience member who was offended at the moderator injecting himself. So that really was a Zoom guy.
That was a Zoom guy, but your laugh was your laugh. Yes.
It was just so funny how you just sat there completely unshaken by his offense. He gets so offended and you just like sit there like a gangster, just like you don't give a shit that he's offended. Like you didn't even try to like butt in and be like, hey, listen, I didn't say you were on the list or I didn't know. You were just like, yeah, whatever. All right. You don't like that? Too bad.
Unminimize that video. Just the first reply had the best reaction. If you just
all right, so here, let me
just scroll right down to Kayla. It says vote Vega versus these Epsteinites.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like you just sat there totally cool as a cucumber while he it is reprehensible that you would say that. And I just thought it was so funny because, you're known as kind of a loudmouth. And so you might think you would bite there and go tit for tat. But no, you just sat there just totally unresponsive to him getting all bent out of shape about that. Yeah, that's why I was laughing. That's what really made me laugh. It was partly that he was so offended, but it was partly that you were just completely unmoved by how offended he was. Like you were not affected by it whatsoever.
He has the same language on his website. Like if you go to his website and you go to his platform on Israel and the Middle East wars, he says we have to stand up against the Epstein class. So clearly he knows what I was talking about. But the truth about the debate is, I mean, I was I wanted to throw up every minute I was in it. I mean, it was the first time I was ever in some kind of high stakes debate, and to be debating the former vice chair of the DNC, I was kind of nervous actually, but I was talking my shit beforehand anyway. I was just like, but it's nervous because the whole time I knew that if I gave him anything, these guys are professional sophists, right? Like they know how to take something you say and then just twist it, and that's pretty high stakes. But the fact that I got that rise out of him was pretty hilarious. So, yeah.
It was, and until that moment, the debate was very tame because very this group boring. That put it on, they're New York City based group, so they're asking pretty wonky questions about housing policy, and not that stuff's not important. It's obviously hugely important, but it's not tabloid stuff, right? So there weren't that many big moments in that debate that had the kind of potential to go viral as that one. And that moment came about an hour and 10 minutes into it. That was after about an hour of things being very civil and kind of straightforward.
Yeah, I was, and there were a few times in the debate where he was trying to say, well, Jose's not a real Democrat. He's ran as a LaRoucheite, in the past, and that's pretty funny. And different party. We should focus on electing real Democrats now, and it's just total like Democrat. Honestly, I think he's in the race just to keep Richie Torres, in the seat. I mean, like that's what it is. He's not there to actually put up a real reasonable challenge. He calls Richie Torres a Republican, which is the stupidest thing you should do when the entire Democratic establishment endorsed Richie Torres. I'm talking Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi, and all these new elected officials that are Democrats are endorsing him.
Well, he was also very non-committal on the question, would you support Hakeem Jeffries for speaker, which, I mean, you can talk all the shit you want about how critical of Israel and AIPAC you are, but, Hakeem Jeffries is as bought and paid for by the Israel lobby as anyone in Washington, Democrat or Republican. And so, you run into the same issue, and I was going to raise this point to Ro Khanna, and maybe at some point we'll put it together to have him on. But there is a reluctance among Democrats, even the progressive Democrats, to really turn the screws to their party. And this was made very evident in the Build Back Better negotiations. And Ro Khanna was, as guilty as anybody for promising over and over again to hold out for these progressive economic policies and then caving at the last minute in order to save Joe Biden's face. Because at the end of the day, they're not willing to embarrass their party. They're not willing to make their own party pay a political price for screwing their base or betraying their base or betraying the people more broadly. In other words, you could say, okay, I support paid family leave. I support the permanent child tax credit. These were provisions in the Build Back Better thing. Okay, well, anybody could say they support that, and that's great that you support that. But are you willing to make your party pay a political price for not delivering that? And no Democrat seems to be willing to do that. Whereas someone like Thomas Massie on the Republican side, very willing to make his party pay a political price for lying about the Epstein files. Like he's coming out and saying, like, I don't want to hear shit about the fucking midterms. We have a responsibility to seek justice here, and we're failing as a party. And so he's going to call that out. And that's a big difference. That's a big difference, and that's a difference between you and Michael Blake, as I see it.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think I think tension is a good thing. I am not afraid to call that out. If you see, hey, listen, you're saying Richie Torres is a Republican, but all these Democrats are backing Richie Torres, and you yourself are not committed, right? The fact that you would consider Hakeem Jeffries shows that you're going to keep propitiating the same system over and over. But funny enough, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Ro Khanna, which, there was a moment in my mind where I was like, should I say Marjorie Taylor Greene? Because I had said that in an Axios article that you covered, actually. It was like the day after I announced I was running in the Dem primary. That a big outlet asked for my opinion if I would vote for Hakeem Jeffries. And the first thing I say is I'm going to vote for Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Right.
To put that in there, Ro Khanna and Marjorie Taylor Greene recently had exchanges on Twitter, I think just 2 days ago, where they were saying we need something new. We need to have a popular left-right coalition. And Marjorie Taylor Greene says, I'm willing to go back to the drawing board. I'm willing to start over. I mean, look, listen, I'm willing to believe that. I'm willing to believe that and say, you know what? Okay, fine. If you're serious about this, let's see what that actually looks like. And as a result of that, too, we got attacked by some Democrat bigwigs. The executive director of the Congressional Black Caucus put out a tweet, quote tweeting a clip from the debate that I had posted because I had said I would vote for Ro Khanna, Thomas Massie, or Marjorie Taylor Greene as Speaker of the House if I were in Congress. And he just, went on some like, oh, well, you're racist because these people don't support the George Floyd Act. And then, we found out that this guy, Vincent Edwards, or Evans, the executive director of CBC, it turns out there's a whole article written about him from 2012, where when he was in Florida AMU, he was going to DC on AIPAC's dime. And he says, yeah, I didn't know anything about the Middle East until AIPAC taught me all these things. So you think about it, it's like, wait a minute, we weren't actually attacked by the Democrat bigwigs. We were attacked by AIPAC, which is the Democrat bigwigs. And that is actually like the intervention that we're doing now, is the fact that we're on the ballot as Democrat candidates, and we're about to get on as the independent candidates. And now they have to listen to us, and now they have no idea how to deal with us, because they can't just accuse me of not being a Democrat because they know I can just turn that on them. And then they can't try to paint me as like a kook because, you know, I'm in this race now, and, you know, people want Richie Torres out. They're in a big pickle now, and we're just bobbing and weaving. It's a lot of fun, honestly, that we're here. So.
Well, so the reason for your being here tonight is to announce that, you've completed the petitioning process for the Democratic ballot line, but of course you are also running as an independent, and so petitioning for the independent ballot line starts very soon. And there is a website that I'll share with people that you just shared in our chat here. The Vega Victory Fund. You guys are having an event tomorrow night, as I understand it.
Yeah, that's right. So basically, we are about to start petitioning for the independent ballot, which in some ways is actually harder than the Democratic ballot, because you got to get 3 times the signatures in the same window of 6 weeks than you would if you were just only running as a Democrat. And this, of course, is part of the sort of promise I had made to people when I first made the commitment to run in the Democratic primary, that I would run as an independent following the Democrat primary, win or lose. And you can see I'm keeping that because the election for the primary isn't until June, but the independent petitioning begins on Tuesday. And there's 2 things we need. We can't actually start the petitioning until we have the money required. It's just that the independent petitioning is much more expensive. And that's not even paying people. I'm glad to say that a lot of people who come and petition are volunteers. That's just material, that's security costs, that's transportation costs, that's printing these papers, that's also printing our leaflets, that's printing our cards, that's making sure that we can operate on a day-to-day basis without having to worry about these basic costs. And that $25,000 is just the first round of costs. That's just the bare minimum to get out the door and start collecting petitions. But it also allows us to counterpunch as well. I mean, given the fact that we've been attacked by some of the upper echelons of the DNC, and that should, kind of like raise people's antennas. Like, wow, this debate where the takeaway is that Michael Blake is a drama queen, got the bigwigs, the executive director of the Congressional Black Caucus, to come out and attack us. We've rattled some real feathers in the establishment, and they don't want to see us succeed. But that is why I'm really happy that we're running as independents. So the first thing is the financial requirement, and we have a live tracker. People can go to vegavictoryfund.com to fund the fund so that we can actually get this going. The vegavictoryfund.com, that's where people can go and donate. The second thing is people need to come out and volunteer with us. And this is the benefit of the independent thing. You don't have to be a Democrat. You don't have to be a Republican. You can be an independent. You can be, as long as you're a registered voter of New York State, you can be a witness to our petitions. And if you're not registered in the state of New York, you can still help us out and circulate. There's a whole kit and caboodle for it. My point is, anybody who wants to see us on the ballot for the independent petitioning, now that it's warmer, now that it's, we're in this position where we have much more notoriety in the Bronx and we're reaching everyday people, come on out. You can go and you can sign up at votevega.nyc. I'm just now thinking I should have put a volunteer button on this Vega Victory Fund as well. But you can go to votevega.nyc or Vega Victory Fund to do whichever, because those are the 2 things we need right now. We need people to volunteer, and we need people to donate as well and help us meet our goal of $25,000 just so we can get out of the door. You saw on that counter there, it said $14,000. And I'm pretty happy to say, we only launched the counter on like Friday, I think, Thursday or Friday or so. I didn't expect it to get this far, this quickly. You saw the counter was till Saturday. So I'm hoping we can meet the goal by tomorrow. And then we can really stretch it out, because we don't have $15 million from AIPAC. You know, we're not as well funded as Richie Torres, you know. And funny enough, Michael Blake isn't actually that much ahead in fundraising than us. We have more small dollar donors than Michael Blake does. And then the last filing, you know, he only reported a few thousand more than we did. So honestly, we have a pretty good shot at this. And it's kind of freaky because I didn't know what to expect running in the Democratic primary. But, you know, here we are. And it's all thanks to you guys, you know, not just you and Russ but your viewers and people who've gotten us this far. This is an amazing intervention. And I am very proud of everybody who's come out and supported us already. A lot of them are people who watch your show. But, you know, that's been the greatest part of this so far, is the fact that we've been able to build an organizing community of people who say, you know what, man, this is the FU to politics. This is the FU to the establishment. And, you know, my mom's not a movie director. No haters on. You know? Like, I'm just a guy who just did this. And I hope that if there's anything this proves, is that anybody in the country can, as long as they run on the principle of telling the truth, can run for office and just do this. You know, and that's the other reason why we're being attacked, especially by people like Michael Fake, who've got, you know, no real skin in the game, who's got no real shot if he keeps going in that, you know, lane of trying to please the Democratic Party. This is our biggest intervention, and it has to continue to be funded and supported by people like you guys. So I want to thank everybody here for getting us this far and help us go further. So yeah, votevega.nyc, where you can donate and volunteer. And if you donate through there, it does update the tracker. So votevega.nyc or vegavictoryfund.com. Either one works.
Okay, awesome. And so before you go, what's going on tomorrow? Because I'm submitting a video to it. So on the stream in pre-recorded form. But go ahead, tell people what's going on and where they can find it.
Am I able to share my screen? Actually, I have.
I think so, but hold on. I don't know if I can. I don't know. Here, try it. Just try it.
Sharing it. So I think now you have to bring it up.
Where's it at? Oh, there it is.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a poster. We're about to release it. It's the Vega Victory Fund special live stream.
Oh, you got Rex Jones for it. Look at you.
I called him. He was really cool. We're doing this tomorrow at 7 p.m. It's going to be on our socials.
Oh, Promoter, great. Brian Miguel, great. That's great. That's awesome.
It's a good line. We got you there.
Mel is Jenin's co-host, who I just had on.
Yes, exactly.
Look at that. The gang's all there.
Tomorrow at 7 p.m. It's going to be an hour-long live stream. Keaton, you're there with an asterisk via recorded video. You know, I don't want to lie to people. You know, but yeah. And so that'll be tomorrow at 7 p.m. You can go to votevega.nyc. It'll be streaming there on my YouTube, Declaring Independence, on my social media, X, anywhere else. Just keep an eye out. We'll be sending an email. If you're not on our email list, you can hit the volunteer button. You get added to our newsletter. And so, am I allowed to show lewd stuff? Can I show you lewd text? I think you'll find this funny. The American Canyon by Robert F. Kennedy. You know,
of course. We read. Oh, you got it. You can't just show it. You got to let me read it. I do this. This is my finest moment in the history of the show, is reading this poem. This is the
Morgan put this in the second page, and because she made the poster. So
no, this is my thing. This is my jam. This is what I do. This is my calling, is to read this poem.
We're a very serious campaign, by the way. All right.
You should. Are you having this? Should I submit a pre-recorded video of me reading this poem?
Don't do that.
Your open mouth awaiting my harvest. I mean to squeeze your cheeks to force open your mouth. I'll hold your nose as you look up at me to encourage you to swallow. Don't spill a drop. I am a river. You are my canyon. I mean to flow through you. I mean to subdue you and tame you, my love.
Yeah, that's great. That's my shit. That was one of our best videos. It was, all I did was basically read that.
Tomorrow at 7. And please, again, if people can contribute whatever they can to the campaign to keep us going, keep funding us, because we are like really kicking ass.
So why is that on there? Why did she?
Well, because I told Morgan to make the promo poster like early in the day, and then I was like, any progress on it? I'm going to be on Due Dissidence in an hour and a half. And she goes, oh, yeah. And then she like put something together. And then she's like, make sure you read the second page.
Oh, yeah. So she knows. She knows.
Yeah.
So she put that there. Okay. So she did that just for me, it sounds like.
I think so. Yeah.
She knows. That's how it's done. Yeah. No, that's one of my favorite moments in the show. And I hope we get more of that poetry, actually. I hope more of that comes out at some point. But yeah, that's amazing.
Anyway, it's good to know that we we keep it real here at the Vega for Congress.
Yeah.
When in a filibuster moment, if we ever make it to the Senate,
Yeah. Yeah, you could filibuster by reading American Canyon. That's amazing. If you ever have to do a filibuster, you know how Cory Booker goes up there and fucking just like says the self-righteous shit for 24 hours. You should read Olivia Nuzzi's book, right? What is it called? What's her book called? Her book was about having that emotional affair, right, with RFK. It sold like next to nothing. What is it called? The chat will remember. I forget what the chat's called, but yeah, you should just read her book.
American Canto, right? Or
oh yeah, Canto, American Canto. Is that what it is? Something like that. Yeah. That's what you should read on the House floor for 20 hours. That'd be amazing.
So anyway, yeah,
that would be awesome. See, if people aren't motivated to elect you now, they should be. You'll read that on the House floor.
Know your audience, right?
Her memoir. Exactly. All right, man. So votevega.nyc. The live stream will be tomorrow night. So go register there. It's important you register through the website because this way you are, in contact with the campaign, so to speak. So votevega.nyc. All right, Jose. Well, I will be in touch with you tomorrow, of course, and best of luck on a great event. And we'll be in touch.
Thank you so much, Keaton. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
All right. See you later. Bye-bye. Look at that. You got a bonus reading of American Canyon. I wasn't expecting that. He's like, hey, can I share this with you? I'm like, oh, yeah, this is my thing. Of course. I should read that every show. That should be a thing. We should not do a stream without me reading American Canyon. So awesome. Thanks to Jose for stopping by. Appreciate that very much. All right, take a quick game break here. Let you know about something we're doing. Here's a little inside scoop that many creators are talking about behind the scenes here on Rumble. It's actually one of the reasons why we use Rumble, because they've made a way to super chat us creators so we get paid immediately and without any fees. So while YouTube and Twitch take up to 50% fees when you tip us creators, this method takes none. That's right. The platform takes 0 fees, and we keep nearly 100% of what you send us. You can super chat with Bitcoin, Tether USD, or even Tether Gold stablecoins. The tip will show up directly on our Rumble chat, which, of course, we read throughout the stream. So just scan the QR code or go to wallet.rumble.com. Or you can download the Rumble wallet on the App Store and send tips to your favorite creators. It's super simple. You send a Rumble rant just the same as you do any other Rumble rant. There's no added steps. It's super intuitive, super user-friendly. Right before you send the rant, it asks, do you want to use US dollars or your Rumble wallet currency of choice? Simple as that. It's an amazing way to get rid of the middleman and help your favorite creators out. It also helps grow the free speech creator economy here on Rumble. So shout out to Rumble, of course, for making this disruptive technology. So please check out the Rumble wallet, wallet.rumble.com. Okay, let's move right on along here. Let's take some super chats and some Rumble rants. P. Walker says people in Louisiana are paying $12 a gallon, but they love how it's called the Gulf of America now. TJT. Yeah, exactly. Like you just see the contempt that he must feel for his supporters. Like it's just insane how he infantilizes people like that. Oh yeah, no, they love it. They're very happy that it's called the Gulf of America. Albu Kid, thanks for the $2. Says, great guest host, Keaton. Post-duopoly all the way. One of the recent Iranian Lego videos, maybe the Hegseth one, references Trump giving a BJ. So that's out there. Epstein class in the closet. Wow. I have not seen that one yet. Vienticus Prime. At this point, Trump might as well be talking about his wet farts. Yeah, indeed. Make depression great again, says DC Sad Trombone. Daniel Day, thanks for the $2. Richard Medhurst's latest video explains the plan. Oh, okay. I'll have to watch that. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Captain Teeb, sounds like DJT is ready for Green Grove. It's not a nursing home, it's a retirement community. Love the show. Thank you. That's right. It's a retirement community. Stoop sign. So you're worried about saying Jake's last name, but you could shout him out as Skinhead Jake. He does it. Well, that's Russ's nickname for him. I never really used that, but I guess it depends on whether he values his privacy. Don't forget to buy an Iron Maiden bobblehead. That's right. Yeah, I need the Iron Maiden bobblehead too. Good call. Stoop sign. Russ is fucking that great wall. A much better wall. That wall pussy is really sideways. Thank you, Stoop sign. Sent. Make sure you check your spam. It's titled Copyright Strike Link. Okay, great. I think Jake posted the link in the private chat too. So thank you, Jake. Appreciate that. But thanks, Vienticus. Freebie for Life says, I missed the banter between you and Russ, but Keaton, you've been nailing these solo shows. Oh, thank you very much for that. And Rex was awesome. Great guests all around. Thanks for making me feel less alone and more informed in this shit show. Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. Yeah, all of our guests have been great. We got plenty more guests to get to. We will get to everybody while Russ enjoys the trip out there. The photos are really cool. He posted some photos to his YouTube page. So that's Russ on the Road NYC. Go check that out. There's the link on the screen right there. Just put up a video as well. Vienticus says Brigitte looks like Garth Alger's cousin who has a chip on his shoulder from never getting laid. Yeah, we're going to see a little bit of Brigitte Macron in Candace's video coming up. Mr. Measy says, as a country, we should have more robust tools for removing politicians in a quick fashion. If they say one thing and do another, the way Trump is doing, apply it to all levels of government. What do they say? I forget what the saying is, but you know, the constitutional system as it's set up is meant to make decisions like that very slow and very unlikely. And there are times when that is frustrating, but there are times when that comes in handy. Ultimately, you know, what it's going to take for a 25th Amendment or an impeachment is for the overwhelming majority of people in government to realize it is in their interest to show Trump the door. And you may say, well, isn't that the case now? Isn't it in their interest now? And I would say it probably is. The added obstacle in this case, and we heard Jenin Younes say it, I've said it, Russ has said it, I believe Rex Jones got into this, Kit has gotten it. I mean, everybody says it because everybody knows it, is that the government is so largely bought by Israel that what makes political sense for these people to do is not always doable because they're just in Israel's pocket. Like that is a major factor, obviously. But I maintain that the big prize, as the new oligarchs see it, is J.D. Vance for 2028. I still think that's the big prize. You know, Trump is an old man. Trump is limited in certain ways as to what he can deliver them, especially now coming into what will essentially be a lame duck couple of years after the midterms. Vance is for all the marbles, and I don't think Vance is viable as long as Trump is president. Like, if Trump finishes this term, there's no way Vance can win, and that fucks up their plan. So to me, the play is going to be sometime after the midterms, they will negotiate an exit for Donald Trump somehow so that Vance becomes president and then runs as an incumbent in 28, where he is much more formidable than he would be running as a second Trump term if this Trump term continues as it looks like it will. So that's why I stand by my prediction that Donald Trump is going to resign at some point. Probably around end of this year, early next year would be my guess. I don't think he's got another year as president in him. I really don't. I think I think he's going to get the talking to the way the Democrats eventually gave Biden the talking to, which is, listen, Grandpa, it's been real, but you got to retire and enjoy your golf. John M. in Minnesota, Hedges Crook Part 2. The nuke thing is a red herring. NYT expose left out a big part of the story. Crook's wife reads Hebrew Press. The decision to go to war was made at Mar-a-Lago December 28th. Well, yeah, I mean, that is the conventional wisdom, is that it was that end of the year session. You know, they're not coming to Mar-a-Lago over the Christmas holiday if they're not planning something big. And the holidays are times when a lot of people are not following the news. So it was the ideal time to go and really turn the screw. So yeah, that seems true to me. Netanyahu told Trump it's not about nukes, go after ballistic missiles. If you focus only on nukes, you will not get a kosher certificate. Thank you for that. Free shit, thanks for the $5. Says Trump is not mentally compromised. He's not paying attention to anything going on and could care less. I think both can be true. I mean, I do think he is aloof. I do think he is a little out of it because he's not in control. I think he is essentially being led around. And no, that is not to exonerate him of anything. It's this brain dead argument that's online where if you say that Trump is taking orders from Israel, that's a way of denying him agency and letting him off the hook for this. No, it's not. No, it's not. You're a really lousy person for allowing yourself to be led around by Israel. You are at fault for that. But at the same time, it is true that you're being led around by Israel. So I think that's true. And that may explain some of his sort of aloofness. But I also think, look, man, you're 80. You know, the difference between 70 and 80 is not the difference between 45 and 55. You know, 10 years is a long distance when you get up like that in age. And just the way he's tweeting, I mean, he's clearly lost his fastball. He's clearly lost some of that mental sharpness. The Trump of 3 years ago would know it's not in his political interest to attack Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and Alex Jones. Like, this is a guy who's not playing with a full deck anymore. I think that's true. Viantica says, when's the best time to make a dentist appointment? Tooth hurty. Good one. Good one. Tooth hurty. I get it. I got to get that joke book. I got my kid a joke book for his birthday. And I gotta crack that open. Make some jokes. Here we go. Stoop Sign says the candidate for U.S. House I was volunteering for, Kat Abu Ghazala, lost to the progressive Zionist fancy pants pencil neck mayor by only 3%. Beating the establishment is possible and necessary. She came close. And, you know, she has some opinions that I think are garbage, particularly with Russia, Ukraine, and that whole thing. But it seems to me like the calculation that primary voters are making, because the Democrats have really soured on Israel at the rank and file level, not at the leadership level. But if you look, polling among Democratic voters, Israel's polling in like single digits. It looks like Democrats are voting for like the furthest left candidate who they feel can win. That seems to be like what their calculation is at this point. And so we'll have to see how that plays out. You can't count on anything. That's why I think Jose is very smart, because he has the organization behind him that's able to get him on the ballot for both lines, the Democrat and the independent line, which gives him more leverage as a Democrat, and also at the same time gives him a backup plan for the general. And so I think that's very smart. And when I say backup plan, I don't necessarily mean that his first choice is to be on the Democrat line. He's going to be on both. He's going to be on the independent line no matter what. It's a question of, will he be on the independent line plus the Democratic line, as I understand it. All right. We are going to move right on along here. Okay, so we showed you Donald Trump's epic screed, his epic tirade against his big heavy hitters, against his major MAGA stars, Tucker, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones. And we have a couple of responses that I want to get into now, mainly Candace and Tucker Carlson at first, because they both came to a similar conclusion about Donald Trump. They both had kind of similar observations and theories about why Donald Trump is doing what he's doing, both broadly speaking on a policy level, and of course, why he has turned his ire to them of all people. So we're going to play some of Candace's response. She did a 49-minute episode in response to Donald Trump, which is titled An Open Letter to President Donald Trump. We will play some of that now and stop and start as we go.
Why Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones have all been fighting me for years, especially by the fact that they think it is wonderful for Iran, the #1 state sponsor of terror, to have a nuclear weapon, because they have one thing in common: low IQs. They are stupid people. They know it, their families know it, and everyone else knows it too. Look at their past, look at their record. They don't have what it takes, and they never did. They've all been thrown off television, lost their shows, and aren't even invited on TV because nobody cares about them. They are nut jobs, troublemakers, and they will say anything necessary for some free and cheap publicity. Now they think they can get some clicks because they have third-rate podcasts, but nobody's talking about them. And their views are the opposite of MAGA, or I wouldn't have won the presidential election in a landslide. Okay, let's park it there, right? Let's just chew on that portion right there first, because it is a stunning break from reality. Because I'll ask the question, do you have any idea why it was, Mr. President, that your old tweets, the sentences you used to say, which were typically definitely insults back in 2015, but do you ever wonder why they worked? I can help you, right? It's because they were rooted in some element of truth.
Yep.
Okay? So if you called Rosie O'Donnell unattractive, or when you said Hillary Clinton should be in prison, it played to the crowd because although many people thought it was inappropriate and beneath the dignity of a politician, it was based in truth, right? Hillary Clinton's done some things. Now, you can call Megyn Kelly a great many things. I have definitely had my political disagreements with her over the years. Low IQ? Really? Tucker Carlson, low IQ? Me, low IQ? The three of us unsuccessful somehow? When you write stuff like that, you just demonstrate nothing but your own irrationality. It just doesn't land.
Yeah, exactly. This was part of the sort of punk rock quality that MAGA had going for it in 2016. And again in 2024. Again, didn't have much of that punch in 2020. When Donald Trump ran in 2020, he looked exhausted and confused and like he had no real sense of how to handle the hand he had been dealt when it came to the pandemic and George Floyd. He just looked directionless and joyless. And that was a losing campaign. But the two winning campaigns that he ran were campaigns where, yeah, what she's saying is absolutely right. He came off as rude and unsavory to a lot of people. But the reason that worked, Russ has made this observation several times, it was the Rodney Dangerfield snobs versus slobs dynamic. And he was the slob. He was the bull in the china shop coming and wrecking the joint for the establishment, saying things that, while, yeah, they made people uncomfortable, people really couldn't say they were wrong, or they couldn't even really say they were crazy. They maybe they thought Trump was a little crazy for articulating things as boldly as he did and as rudely as he did. But the substance of what he was saying in a lot of those observations, in a lot of those points, in a lot of those barbs, was not crazy. Now, that same bluster, that same attitude, that same mean-spiritedness, when you attach that to substantive points that on substance are unhinged and insane, as she just said there, yes, you just come off as irrational and detached from reality. She goes on.
Nobody cares about them anymore. Really? You're the leader of the free world and you're tweeting about us. I think that means somebody cares. Actually, what nobody cares about anymore, and what you seem to have an inability to comprehend, is that traditional cable news no longer moves the needle. Cable TV is a dying medium. FDR, He used the radio, right? His voice, the fireside chats. It worked. It moved audiences when it was new. And when the world transitioned there, and then suddenly it was the dawn of television, JFK's good looks on the screen, that served him. And he used that. Once again, fast forward to today, and the world is technologically advancing. Yet you're launching insults at what you don't comprehend. Joe Rogan is not going to do Fox News hits. Do you understand this? He is not trying to get on CNN. None of us are. I don't know how else to help you understand. You are quite literally mocking people because they comprehend something that you don't.
Yep. That is a devastating point, and it's 100% true. And I would add to that, because she brings up the example of FDR mastering the radio, right? And JFK mastering the TV. And it's true. Like, candidates who go down in history as transformative political figures tend to be candidates who catch a wave of new media and master it, because that's how they really become dominant in the culture. That's how they create a sort of aura around them that gives them the gravity of a major historical figure. So yeah, as she says, FDR mastering the radio, perfect example of that. JFK mastering the television, perfect example of that. You could take that further. Barack Obama mastering the internet. The internet was a huge part of those Obama campaigns. It was in the early days of a widely accessible internet. Yes, the internet predates the Obama era, but by 2008, that's when social media was starting to come online. It's when the internet became really commonplace, and they used the internet in order to organize that campaign in a way that was transformative. And Barack Obama, even though policy-wise, he was very much a continuation of the Reagan era, culturally, he was a transformative figure. Culturally, he was, I don't want to say revolutionary figure because that's giving him too much credit that he doesn't deserve. But he is a major cultural figure largely for that reason, that they were able to master and harness the power of an emerging new media. Donald Trump, here's the thing, and this is why a lot of people say he's losing his mind and that he's lost his fastball. Donald Trump mastered social media, and that is a huge part of why he became a transformative cultural figure, right? Barack Obama wasn't on Twitter during his campaigns. Trump was. Trump had a viral Twitter account going into that 2016 campaign, and he mastered the medium. He mastered that medium. Even before he ran for office, his tweets were going viral, back 2011, 2012, 2013. What did he say? I wish I wish everyone, even the haters and the losers, I wish them well on this day, 9/11, like on the anniversary of 9/11. Like, he's just fired off these banger tweets. So Donald Trump did master a new medium and a new media, much in the way that FDR did and that JFK did and that Barack Obama did. And as she mentions there, he seems to have completely forgotten that. He seems to have completely forgotten that, hey, part of why I am where I am is because I realized how much Twitter mattered and how much social media mattered. And now he's reverting to this boomer-brained take of, well, they're not on television anymore. That means they're pathetic. They're losers. He's a broken man since he got fired from Fox News. No, actually, Tucker Carlson has more influence than ever because he got fired from Fox News. And now he could do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, for however long he wants, with whatever guest he wants. And I feel like the Trump of 10 years ago would have understood that. I think the Trump of 3 years ago would have understood that. And this is why people say he's slipping, because he is. All right, she goes on.
Tucker Carlson is more powerful than you. Deep down, I think you know that. And I think you resent that, which is proven by your next lines. Let's read on. You continue, MAGA agrees with me and just gave CNN a 100% approval rating of Trump, not hand-flailing fools like Tucker Carlson who couldn't even finish college. He was a broken man when he got fired from Fox, and he's never been the same. Perhaps he should see a good psychiatrist. Okay. Obviously, Tucker Carlson is in his prime. The whole world understands that. That sentence, he couldn't even finish college. Are you aware that your base is comprised of blue-collar workers who never went to college, many who never so much wanted to go to college, never dreamed it? The farmers, the ranchers, the plumbers, the electricians, the people who work with their hands. You now stick your nose up to all of those people? Do you know who else didn't go to college? Charlie Kirk didn't go to college. Those men, many, I would say, a lot of the men and women that you and Pete Hegseth want to send to their deaths in the Middle East, many of them, probably most of them, didn't go to college. And let me be perfectly clear here when I say that each and every one of them is infinitely more smart and more capable than you and the people that you surround yourself with in this moment.
Yep. That's another banger point. No doubt about it. The Trump base, the most stubborn and immovable faction of the Trump base, when you look at every set of data going back 10 years, is white males without a college degree. And now we're starting to see, for the first time ever, now, March, April 2026, finally, Trump is underwater among whites without a college degree. And I think it is no small coincidence that he's talking like this at a time when that approval is slipping. He is not the same presence. I say he's not the same presence because to say he's not the same man is to give him too much credit for having been sincere about any of this in the first place, which clearly he wasn't. But he does not command the same space as he used to. She's right. To talk down at someone for dropping out of college is something the Trump of a few years ago would never do. Would never do because he knew it wouldn't have been in his interest to. But he has surrounded himself with the exact wrong group of people who are just telling him that his poll numbers are through the roof and that the world is so grateful for him, grateful to him for doing what he's doing, that he just can't see outside of that bubble. And again, that's not making an excuse for Donald Trump. He's the president of the United States. It's his responsibility to pick his friends better than he has. It's his responsibility not to see option A, Mark Levin, option B, Tucker Carlson, and choose option A, Mark Levin. That's his fault. I'm not making excuses for him. I'm just telling you what seems obvious to me, which is that the man has completely lost sight of how he got to where he is. She goes on.
But let's continue, because CNN says you got 100% support. You write, or Megyn Kelly, who nastily asked me the now famous only Rosie O'Donnell question, or crazy Candace Owens, who accuses the highly respected First Lady of France of being a man when she is not, and will hopefully win lots of money in the ongoing lawsuit. Actually, to me, the First Lady of France is a far more beautiful woman than Candace. In fact, it's not even close.
Oh, that's just petty.
This Brigitte Macron. Who did you write that sentence for? Not even Brigitte Macron and Emmanuel Macron applauded that sentence.
Oh,
okay, they said incroyable. It doesn't help. Sometimes propaganda, when it's too naked, actually just hurts the cause that it purports to support. What is your obsession with Brigitte? This Brigitte Macron in the swimsuit? You think that you can command people, men, straight men, to suddenly think that Brigitte is hot? Did you date Jean-Michel Trogneau? Are you gay? Why are you so obsessed calling me from the White House? Stop talking about Brigitte.
That's right. He called
Is it a physical attraction truly that you have?
That's right. Remember that? Remember when she told that story about how he called her and asked her to stop talking about Brigitte Macron? That's funny. That's funny. I forgot about that, but that's true. That's what he called her about.
There, back when he was better looking, I suppose. Did you sleep with him when he was a man? Do you think people care? To your point about, I hope she wins money since it's all you see, gold, shekels. Do you think your base cares when the subject matter is children that are being statutorily raped by their supervisors? Do you understand that no one in MAGA, in true MAGA, cares about money? above truth and protecting children? Could you connect that dot?
Yep. Once again, Epstein files being a major pillar of the MAGA movement. A lot of people who invested in Trump are blue collar people who knew they were never going to be rich people, right? This is where that whole dynamic of the salt of the earth, you know, God-fearing, simple American versus the hedonistic, godless lizard people. That's where that dynamic really served Donald Trump well, because it fit very, very neatly into a sort of patriotic, old-fashioned American versus the New World Order globalist reptiles. But when you value money above all else, again, that flies in the face of one of the sort of core tenets of what made the MAGA movement as potent as it was. But here's where she goes even deeper, and here's where she makes an observation that Tucker then echoes, which I'll play for you next. But this is, I think, some of the most interesting stuff she had to say in response to Donald Trump.
MAGA is no longer commanded by you, and you know it. You know it. You belong to the Epstein class. That is your legacy now. People will see your name on buildings, whatever was agreed upon in those boardrooms with Jared Kushner, Trump, Gaza, hotel, whatever you tweeted, so crass. They will see that. You will earn that. And then when they see it, they will think about how many children had to die or be raped by men on islands so that you could stick the Trump name upon a building. And for clarity, Mr. President, that's not my fault. That's not Megyn Kelly's fault. That's not Tucker Carlson's fault. You made that trade. You chose money above respect.
Yep.
And what an absolute shame that you chose to do that toward the end of your life. Okay, because you can't take money and things and stuff with you when you go, just your soul. And you sold yours for what? Another gilded ballroom? Let me be perfectly clear when I say this. Charlie Kirk, he died free. You will most certainly die a slave. Okay? You are in chains right now, and the entire world can see that perfectly.
Mm-hmm. That, to me, is the most important thing here. Play that one more time.
Ballroom? Let me be perfectly clear when I say this. Charlie Kirk, he died free. You will most certainly die a slave. Okay? You are in chains right now, and the entire world can see that perfectly.
The entire world can see that perfectly. Yep. That is 100% true. And, you know, you spend a lot of time when you do this for a living. You know, you spend a few hours a day, a few days a week on the air, but you spend a lot of time thinking about what you might say next time you go on the air, right? That's part of the reason. Hopefully the show doesn't suck as much as it might have otherwise if I weren't as neurotic as I am. But the word that kept occurring to me over and over again, the more this Iran war drags on and the more Trump just makes absolutely zero sense every time he opens his mouth, the word is slave. Yes, Donald Trump is a slave at this point. He is functioning as a slave. He is acting as though he is a man with no political agency because he may as well have none. He may as well have none. He is absolutely a slave, and she's right. Everyone sees that. Everyone sees that. That's why most people blame Israel for this war.
At best, what you can hope for in this moment is that maybe one day upon the college campuses that you so deeply cherish, they'll teach all about your now tarnished legacy as the perfect modern day example of Plato's allegory of the cave. You're familiar with that one? The prisoner chained in a cave, multiple prisoners chained in a cave with a fire burning behind them, mistaking shadows on the wall for reality. And when one of those prisoners escapes and makes it outside of the cave and into true daylight and sees, oh wait, that's not reality, and they return and they try to tell the other prisoners, but no, there's truth and there's actual reality outside. They fight that person. They don't believe it. They call that person crazy. That's you. You are chained inside of a cave right now. And who's making those shadows on the wall, right? At best, the annals of history, I think within them, you will be relegated to a philosophical discussion. The madness of President Trump. People will ask, who made Mr. Trump believe the shadows on the wall were real?
Yep. that is how the history books will be written, assuming there are history books, assuming there is a thing called history, which we don't know. We cannot take that for granted, that this will not spiral into an extinction level event. Because, yes, Donald Trump is a slave looking at paintings on a wall thinking they are real, being manipulated. And no, that is not to exonerate him of any wrongdoing. That is simply the truth, as I think just about everybody sees it. Like, I don't even understand how that's really debatable at this point. But here's Tucker Carlson making a very similar observation, calling Donald Trump a slave. This was in an interview that he did with the BBC recently, and there's a little back and forth after he makes this claim. So let's take a look.
I mean, I've known him for decades. I've always liked him, and I think anyone who spent time with him likes him. I feel sorry for him, as I do for all slaves. He is not free in this moment at all to do what he thinks is best for himself or his country.
What do you mean?
No, he's not free, and we learned that yesterday when Donald Trump announced a ceasefire, clearly with relief, and made its terms, or most of its terms, public. And then that ceasefire ended within 2 hours because Israel intentionally violated the terms by attacking not just southern Lebanon, but the city of Beirut.
So are you saying he's a slave to Benjamin Netanyahu?
I don't think it's as simple as he's under the control of Netanyahu. But, you know, you could summarize it that way and you wouldn't be totally inaccurate.
No, you would not be totally inaccurate. And I love how she's just, oh, you say, of course he's free. Well, he puts a little bit of meat on the bones here. So the Tucker Carlson network also sent out a newsletter in response to Trump's Truth Social post. Trump is under a level of pressure that most people cannot fathom, with rabid Israel firsters viciously harassing him anytime he dares to stray even slightly from their favorite country's agenda. Their shameless pursuit is steadfast enough to make even a man like Donald Trump go mad. They are as persistent as any group in history, no matter how well the White House has treated them in the past. Trump is facing a level of pressure that is dark enough to make him abandon his campaign promises and morph into the precise kind of politician he once vowed to destroy. He would not have let that happen unless his personal stakes were really high. So that's the Clash Report's tweet summarizing this letter. We'll dig a little further into it. Here's the actual text of the screenshot itself. Establishment media never reports this, but the Israeli government has a storied history of blackmailing U.S. presidents. Perhaps the most jarring example occurred in the 90s when Israel used recordings of a Bill Clinton-Monica Lewinsky phone sex session as leverage to pressure Clinton into releasing convicted spy Jonathan Pollard from prison. We're not joking. That really happened. The phone sex story is worth remembering as President Trump attempts to end the Iran war. Like many other things Israel has done, it shows that America's special ally is willing to play very dirty to achieve its goals. Dark money campaign contributions, extortion, physical threats, and even assassination. In their anti-Christian worldview, the ends always justify the means. They have no issue destroying lives. So yeah, there it is. There is Tucker Carlson saying essentially, yeah, when we say he's a slave, not necessarily to Benjamin Netanyahu, that may be oversimplifying things because, of course, the other part of this is the question of blackmail. And that runs far deeper than Netanyahu. Far deeper than Netanyahu. And it takes someone with a high IQ to really get to the bottom of that. A higher IQ than apparently Tucker has, because apparently the Tucker Carlson network is having a good time trolling here, calling all nut jobs, troublemakers, and third-rate podcasters. New merch just dropped. Ouch. Low IQ in the MAGA color scheme there. So, yeah, you have Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens both essentially making the same point, and it's an obvious point, and it is what Trump is going to be remembered for unless he tells Israel, no, enough is enough. This is why, whatever the compromise on him is, whatever the compromising material on him is, assuming there is any, which of course we do not know for a fact, but it seems like a likelihood, according to much smarter people than me, clever merch notwithstanding. You could either go down in history as the president who let Israel drag the world into hell for whatever reason, or you can go down in history as the president who told them no. And it seems like Donald Trump has decided option A is the road he wants to go down, and that is how he will be remembered. Not as an alpha, not as a strong leader, not as daddy, not as any of these sort of cartoonish archetypes that the incel MAGA chuds on X want to portray him as. He will go down as the exact opposite, as the ultimate beta, cuck, bitch, slave to Israel. That's how he will be remembered at this rate, unless there is a radical change, of course, which, of course, we do not see coming. All right, we'll take some super chats here on the break. Jake, could you put up the scroll for us, please? Thank you very much. So, hey, folks, if you like what we do here and you want to help us do even more of it, the best way to support this show is to become a member at dudissidents.com/Patreon, /Substack, or /Locals. Perks of membership include your name up in lights on the screen here. You also get ad-free versions of every live stream emailed to you the day after they air live. So if you want to watch it back free of commercial interruption, you can do so on a private link that gets emailed to you the day after every show broadcasts live to YouTube and Rumble. You also get monthly Film Club live streams. You get monthly post-game live streams with call-in Q&A. And, of course, you get call-in access to every Q&A Sunday night bonus time on Rumble. So it is Sunday, which means you will be going to Rumble for our Q&A after the conclusion of this show. All are welcome to hang out in the chat and watch along. Members are welcome to call in using the link in your email. So that's dudissidents.com /Patreon, /Substack, or /Locals. And like I said, membership starts at $5 a month, and you are the backbone of the show for signing up. So thank you all very much for your support. All right, let's move right on along here. We got Vienticus says a haiku in the style of RFK Jr. Vienticus is going to start with the haikus now. I like it. I like it. Vienticus says
ecstasy has come, comforting bent position. The straw's completion.
The straw's completion. I like it. I like it, Vienticus. Nicely done. Profanosaurus Rex. Not sure if you're aware, Orban lost the election. Thanks for being an exceptional human. I am aware, and we are going to cover that, actually. I put together a slideshow of that in the moments before the stream started. Yes, don't worry. We will absolutely get to that. I think that's a fascinating story. MRC Extra says you get $2 now, another $48 when Kurt co-hosts and rants irrationally and asks, who am I yelling at? Now, I got to get Kurt in here for one of these. Jimmy is joining for one of these. I'll announce the date as it approaches. But yeah, I have to see if Kurt is available for one too, because that would be fun. $1 Million Trooper, I believe it came up earlier that Tucker Carlson is selling low IQ merch. Yep. But if not, Tucker Carlson is selling low IQ merch. You showed them, Donald. Yep. Great troll there. Absolutely. Let's see where we got over here. Raven Laz says Trump, Brigitte often tag teams me with Miriam, except she doesn't need a crystal strap on. Please don't piss her off. I don't need her trying to open the Strait of Hormuz. Ow! Yeah, the Strait of Hormuz. That's a good one. Me shoot Skeet. Thanks for the super sticker. Appreciate that very much. All right. we will move right on along. Jake, you can take that off. I think we're on our second go around on the scroll. Thank you very much, my friend. Appreciate that. All right, folks. So we heard from Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson. We heard their response to Donald Trump, calling them low IQ. But now we're going to hear Alex Jones's response. So just to recoup here, I know why Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones have all been fighting me for years, especially by the fact that they think it's wonderful for Iran, blah, 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 because they have one thing in common: low IQs. So JP Sears gave Alex Jones a little IQ test, just to test the validity of Donald Trump's claim. So let's take a look at this.
Do you do IQ test here?
Yep, that's what we do.
Okay, because I think I need one.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. Why do you need one?
Well, I've had some people lately telling me I have a low IQ.
Ooh, shots fired. Gosh, who's been telling you that?
Well, some people online have been telling me that, like the president, and even my dogs are looking at me a little bit condescendingly now.
Well, we'll find out. So with this IQ test, I'll just ask you a series of simple, really common sense questions, and you just give me your best answer.
I'm kind of a little bit nervous right now.
Oh yeah, you should be, because if you turn out to be what some would call a low IQ nut job, then you're pretty much a lost cause.
Well, that doesn't sound good.
All right, first question. Which word doesn't belong? Apple, banana, carrot, orange.
Is it carrot?
Very good, because it's not a fruit and all. It's clever. Next question. Who would be considered more of a traitor to their country? Person A, who receives $230 million from a foreign lobby, or person B, who receives $0 from a foreign lobby?
I mean, clearly person A.
Wrong.
Come on, that's got to be correct.
Next. Hypothetical question. If a country has a major shipping waterway that you want to have open, and it's currently open, but they'll close it if you go to war, what would be a smart way to ensure that waterway stays open?
You don't go to war with them.
No, not even close. I mean, common sense would say go to war with that country and stay at war with that country as a way of putting pressure on them to reopen it after they've closed it because you went to war with them.
Are you playing with a full deck?
I don't play cards, but thanks for asking. Oh, and this is a good one. If you had the desire to take down an international pedophile ring, what would be the best way to follow through on that desire?
Well, you launch a full investigation using every means necessary, and then you prosecute those bastards the fullest extent of the law.
Wrong. No. You would launch an effort to prevent any investigations and prosecutions.
That can't be right.
Well, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
These questions are kind of weird.
Oh, I assure you, these are standardized IQ test questions, sir. Next question. Here's a scenario. You got a person, they work for America and America only. What country does that person work for?
America?
That's incorrect. They work for Iran. Next question. Who's more beautiful as a woman? France's First Lady, or maybe man, or Candace Owens?
Candace Owens?
No.
Have you seen France's First Lady?
I would totally do her. If she had an OnlyFans, I would subscribe. Any reasonable man would. Okay, how would you describe what America First means?
Putting America's interests first above any other foreign nation.
No, you're actually describing anti-Semitism.
Oh, yes, that's anti-Semitism. That's right. That's right. Forgot. Wrong again.
Yuck. Okay, last question. What year did we first land on the moon?
We've never been to the moon.
No, we've been to the moon. We go all the time. Well, your test is complete. I've never seen a score like this before.
What did I get?
You got an IQ of 65.
Is that high?
No, that's a very low IQ.
My life is literally ruined. He was right.
Who was right?
Just don't worry about that now. My big question is, what am I going to do with my life now that I've learned that I am so stupid?
Well, Just remember, you're also a nut job. But yeah, you're pretty screwed. Really, the only option I can give low IQ people such as yourself is to like go off and open a Somali daycare.
Oh, God, yeah. See, got to get that in at the end, of course. Remember who you're dealing with here. But, you know, this reminded me when I saw this video come out. One other part of like what's missing from the MAGA movement. You know, my politics were never Trump's politics, and so I never supported him. But in 2016, remember when they had the Bill Clinton grape shirts, you know, his face in the Obama Shepherd Ferry kind of logo with the word grape under it. That worked. That worked. That was counterculture. That was punk rock. That was subversive. You notice the alligator Alcatraz merch now that the Florida Republicans were selling doesn't work. Not counterculture. Not cool. You know why? Because you're punching down. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Any sort of counterculture, any sort of edge that you have as a movement is a function of the premise that you're punching up, that you're speaking some sort of forbidden truth to power. And at this point, the MAGA movement has no game anymore. They used to have game. Like something like this, it's pretty funny. Pretty funny. Alex Jones had a certain game in 2016. Those broadcasts with Roger Stone, they were good. They were funny. They were subversive. It had an edge to it because they were running against the warmongering neoliberal and neoconservative establishment. Tucker Carlson with the low IQ merch that he's now selling on his website. That's an example of game. It's edgy. It's counterculture. It's fun. It's a little dangerous. There's none of that now in Trump's movement. He has banished all of those people from his movement in favor of who? The never Trumpers like Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin, who also have no edge and no game. There was a punk rock quality to MAGA, Milo Yiannopoulos. Again, whatever you think of these people, like you don't have to endorse their views. I certainly didn't. But Milo is as skilled a troll as you'll ever find. You know, these people brought something new and unique to the political space, which gave the movement an edge. It gave it some teeth, and that is now completely gone. And so when you have Alex Jones refuting point for point up to and including the relative attractiveness of Candace Owens and Brigitte Macron, and listing J.P. Sears there for the comedy assist, these are just indicators of how MAGA has really lost what cultural cachet it once had. It has none of that anymore. And that is something that is a function of the choices that Donald Trump has made. There's no excusing it. There's no explaining it away. There's no shifting blame anywhere else. This is a function of the path that he's chosen. And everything that made his movement unique and notable is gone. And instead, you essentially got a mad emperor version of George Bush. And that's what you're left with. All right, we got one more segment to do. But let's take some super chats and some Rumble rants first here. Substack of Hadi, thank you for the €2. Substack of Hadi for the real story of Greater Israel. Okay, thank you for that. Mr. Ish, thanks for the $9.99. Are you alone today? Well, I'm alone now, but I had two guests actually today. We had Jenin Younes for the first hour, and then we had Jose Vega. So yeah, piecing these shows together. But thank you for being here. Appreciate everybody. Great crowd in here tonight. Thank you all for hanging out. Free shit. Thanks for the $5. The reason why Trump's sounding like Trump on steroids is because Trump is using AI to truth social Trump. It's funny, you know, when you look at Truth Social, it is just slop upon slop upon slop. There's so many like fucking shitty ads on that site. Like every time I go on Truth Social, I literally just Google Trump Truth Social, since there's no reason to follow literally any other handle there. And yeah, man, it is just populated with like such junk ads. It's just so tacky and shitty. Horrible platform, terrible. Charles HD9 Op, this MAGA popularity scam infuriates me. I live in North Dakota and have seen about a 60% decrease in people wearing Trump attire since the ICE files and war. Well, it's funny, you know, one thing we didn't get to tonight is Ben Shapiro. He went and he told everybody to touch grass, right? If you don't support Trump and you're afraid that Trump support is imploding, you should go and touch grass, right? Implying that, you know, this is all sort of like hyper online shit. Like this, like disillusionment with Trump is just like an online thing. And it's funny, to your point, Charles, I've heard nothing but similar stories from everyone who I talk to when it comes to like family members who voted for Trump or friends who voted for Trump, just regretting their vote, regretting having ever supported him, like throwing out the merch. Like I've heard that story multiplied several times in offline conversations with people who are very much offline. So the idea that, well, if you only touch grass and go out in the real world, there has not been much of a shift away from Trump. That is just completely wrong. All right, folks. Well, one thing we like to talk about here is how our system is rigged against the little guy and the little gal, and that applies to Medicare as well, as millions of seniors are on the wrong Medicare plan, and many of them don't know it. How it happens is when you're trying to figure out Medicare, a lot of the times you call people who end up being brokers who are incentivized through fat commissions to sell you on plans you don't need. A lot of these brokers are paid by insurance companies, and they are incentivized to sell you specific plans that their income depends on. So that's not an advisor. That's a salesperson with a conflict of interest. So you end up making a choice based on advice that was never designed to help you in the first place, and that's how millions of people end up on the wrong plan. Chapter is the exception, and that's why we partner with them. They are the only national advisor that compares every Medicare plan in the country. Their advisors are salary-based, so there are no hidden incentives. You tell them your doctors, you tell them your prescriptions, and they do the work of finding what fits. If you're already on the right plan, they will tell you that, and that will be the end of the discussion. So either way, you get off the phone knowing you made the right call. It's worth a call. It's free. There's no obligation. There's nothing to lose. It only takes 20 minutes. So if you're turning 65 or already on Medicare, give Chapter a call at 404-706-0804. Once again, that's 404-706-0804 at Chapter. Okay, folks, we have one more segment to do, and then we will, of course, be going over to Rumble for the Q&A. So dudissidents.com/Rumble is where you want to head over in a few minutes if you want to join the chat. If you are a member, you'll be able to call in and join the Q&A after a brief intermission. But let's go to our final segment of the night. This just broke shortly before we went on the air. Hungary's Orban beacon to the right concedes election defeat. That's right. Viktor Orban's party loses their election by quite the landslide. Apparently, the voting system in Hungary is very complicated, and so results were not expected until a few days out from Election Day. But apparently, the results were so one-sided that it became obvious very early that Orban's party had lost. Prime Minister Viktor Orban of Hungary, a lodestar for MAGA culture warriors and right-wing populists in Europe, conceded defeat on Sunday in a general election, breaking the momentum of a global nationalist revival promoted by President Trump. Speaking to supporters Sunday evening in Budapest, Mr. Orban said the election results, although not complete, are understandable and clear. They are painful for us, but unequivocal. Here he is. The election results, although not yet complete, are understandable and clear. The election result is painful for us, but clear. The responsibility and opportunity to govern were not given to us. I congratulated the winning party. Thank you. Thank you for all your hard work. There he is, conceding defeats ahead of schedule, apparently. He congratulated the opposition, saying the responsibility and opportunity to govern were not given to us. But he vowed in his surprisingly early concession speech, we are not giving up, never, never, never. Sunday's vote was widely seen as a showdown between friends and foes of liberal democracy, a cause that Mr. Orban has battled against for years to applause from his fans in the United States, Europe, and Latin America. It was closely watched by the Trump administration and the Kremlin, both of which wanted Mr. Orban to win, and both of which offered support for his campaign. With 66% of votes counted, the opposition Titsa party was on course to win 137 seats, more than a two-thirds majority. With Mr. Orban's party, Fidesz, is expected to win just 55. The opposition leader is a former Orban loyalist, Peter Magyar, who broke away in 2024. So that's part of how they pieced together that coalition, is they united, I guess, the liberals with the disaffected, more right-wing base of Viktor Orban. The consequences of the outcome reached far beyond Hungary's borders. They could help alter the course of the war in Ukraine, a neighbor that Mr. Orban has cast as an enemy of Hungary, and affect European security. They will also be looked at by populists around the world who view the Hungarian leader as a model of success and of pugnacious defiance of the mainstream. He's also very pro-Israel as well. Pro-Israel, but anti-Ukraine. Sunday's election results are likely to disappoint President Trump, who sent Vice President J.D. Vance to Budapest, the Hungarian capital, last week to rally support for Mr. Orban in the final stretch of the campaign. I love Victor, said Mr. Trump, speaking by telephone from Washington to a gathering of Fidesz supporters in Budapest on Tuesday. Yeah, visits the Pope. Pope dies. Leads Iran negotiations. Talks collapse. Flies to Hungary to prop up Orban. Orban loses in a landslide. Man's got a streak. Yeah, J.D. Vance, kind of a cooler here. But yes, he was in Hungary campaigning for Viktor Orban. Oddly enough, on the day that Trump was threatening to end Iranian civilization, the so-called anti-war moderating voice in the administration was in Hungary rallying votes for Viktor Orban. So here's J.D. Vance over in Hungary.
Will you stand against the bureaucrats in Brussels? Will you stand for sovereignty and democracy? Will you stand for Western civilization? Will you stand for freedom, for truth, and for the God of our fathers? Then, my friends, go to the polls in the weekend, stand with Viktor Orban, because he stands for you and he stands for all these things. God bless Hungary and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Oof. Oof. Also got the assist from Donald Trump Jr. To our friends in Hungary, this was midnight last night. To our friends in Hungary, we hope you will vote for independent thinking and for someone who stands for Hungary first. We hope you will vote for my father's friend and ally. One leader in Europe has a direct line to the White House. I hope you will support Viktor Orban. So, yeah, they were repudiated quite decisively by, it looks like, about a 2-1 margin as far as the seats are concerned. And I think what this comes down to, because we had seen like Tucker's interviews with Viktor Orban, and Viktor, you know, in 2023 and 2024 was talking about how they needed Trump back to bring peace between Russia and Ukraine. He really held out hope that that was possible. But I think what you're seeing here is a recognition on the part of the people that kind of crosses borders and travels across oceans, which is that these anti-woke, anti-immigrant sort of Christian nationalist types have had their chance to govern, and they failed. Bottom line, they failed. You could think guys like Orban are a sort of necessary bulwark against encroachments of bureaucracies like the EU, but ultimately, you have to deliver prosperity for people. Ultimately, you have to govern in ways that benefit people. And Orban in this race faced fierce opposition based on corruption, but also cost of living, inflation, underfunded social programs like healthcare and education. Sound familiar yet? Very, very similar dynamics going into this midterm and into 2028 when we have our next presidential race. And when you look at Orban's margins of defeat here, they look very similar to Trump's poll numbers right now. Trump is in the 30s. He's disapproved by essentially a 2-1 margin, which were basically the results in Hungary. You're talking about 130 seats versus 55. Do the exact math, but it is roughly a 2-1 drubbing that they took. And what you're seeing, I think, is what you're going to see here, which is a resurgence of liberalism, which, yes, is a tranquilizing drug. And most people, when given the two options, one of which is a tranquilizing drug, and the other is waking up on the operating table when the anesthesia wears off, you know, when the alternative to that is having a splenectomy without anesthesia and screaming in agony until you bleed out, people are going to choose the tranquilizing drug almost every time. Almost every time. That's why it's so hard for these outsider candidates to win, because they're seen as too risky. And that's why things have to get really bad before these kinds of candidates can actually win elections in the first place. It's why the smart money is always on the quote unquote centrist candidate, right? Because people will often choose what they perceive to be safer, even if that thing is killing them. If they sense that it'll kill them slowly and more peacefully, they'll choose that over the high-risk outsider maverick candidate or candidates as represented by people like Orban and Trump. And so when leaders like that do win, when these outsider candidates do end up breaking through and taking power, they have to actually deliver, because when they don't, the lesson that most people will learn from these moments is not that they were right to take a chance on these anti-establishment candidates, but rather just the opposite. They will remember the lesson that as bad as things can get under liberalism, they can always get worse. And when candidates like Trump and like Orban get elected and things get worse, what does it create? It creates a backlash back to a more liberal center. And, you know, it falls to outside movement builders to actually create momentum behind positive change and positive transformation and actually deliver for people. It is incumbent upon outsiders to do it right, because when they do it wrong, you end up in the long run empowering a centrist establishment that then becomes entrenched for decades, even if they're unpopular. Even if they're unpopular. Look at what a hard time Marine Le Pen has winning every year. Though this is the year she's going to win, and she never does, because in Europe, where the history of the Nazis is very much alive in people's minds and in the sort of cultural fabric, there is a real fear of a return to that. And that manifests in an embrace of the status quo. That does not manifest in an embrace of an opposite kind of radicalism. Because people, I think, are reminded of the stakes of the moment. People are afraid to lose what they have, even if they don't have much. They're afraid to lose what they have. At my mother's memorial this weekend, I met a lot of people for the first time in a while. People who I had known, who have known most of my life, who I haven't seen in a few years. And, some of them are doing well. Some of them are doing less well. But even, friends and distant family members of mine who I know who are struggling, as bleak as their situation can be, they have things in their lives that mean a lot to them, whether it's spouses or children or friends or even dogs or cats, right? Even some things that, people don't take as seriously as some others. The bottom line is people have things in their lives that give them a sense of fulfillment, a sense of belonging, that give their spirits a certain warmth and a certain love that they don't want to lose. And when you take them to the brink of collapse, they revert to what's comfortable, even if what's comfortable is bad for them, right? As much as we rail against the failings of liberalism, has really brought the world to this point. Not just America, but the world to this point. And so we look at stories like this and we say, well, an embrace of the center is not the answer. It's not the answer in a sense that it is not a viable strategy for an ultimate liberation or an ultimate transcendence. But people who have a sense of what there is to lose, I think will revert back to centrism before they will embrace radicalism of a different kind. And I think that's what we're going to see in the coming years. I think one of the downstream negative effects of Trump blowing it as badly as he did, as Orban apparently blowing it as badly as he did. I'm not an expert on Hungarian politics. I can't get into the weeds of exactly what mistakes he made and how and why. But I think one of the downstream negative effects of this era is that it is really going to sour the brand of outsiders. You're not going to be able to say, hey, don't worry. Oh, so he's not qualified? Well, if Barack Obama is qualified, then give me the unqualified guy. No, because the unqualified guy got in and he's a fucking wreck. He's a fucking wreck. He's a disaster. This is tarnishing the brand of the outsider for generations to come. I really think that in America, we are going to face the same sort of paralysis, at least within the electoral system, that a lot of European countries have faced since World War II, which is a real reluctance to take a chance on the guy who's a little crazy. That I think is one of many unfortunate legacies of this era, is that it's going to be very, very difficult to convince people to step outside their comfort zones, because I think it is necessary that we step outside of our comfort zones in order to pursue a true liberation and a true transcendence. But at the same time, do I blame people for not wanting to take that chance? No, it's not their fault. It's the fault of people leading these charges, getting it wrong and fucking it up and betraying the trust of the people who they hope to enlist in their movements. And Bernie Sanders made that mistake in betraying his movement. He couldn't betray them as much as Donald Trump has because Bernie never became president. But now when you look at what Donald Trump has done to his movement and how he has just completely tanked any goodwill he may have had with large swaths of the population, the result is going to be an embrace of the center, I think, for years, if not generations to come, because that is the stain that Trump is going to leave on this country. And it's a stain that's really not going to wash out anytime soon. And there seem to be a lot of parallels between what's going on here and what happened in Hungary today, where you just had this massive repudiation of Viktor Orban, who had been in power for 16 years. And now he is driven from power on a wave of discontent and disillusionment and disappointment, which stems from an apparent betrayal of his mandate. Again, I can't say that definitively. Not an expert on Hungarian politics by any stretch, but when you look at the numbers and you look at the key issues that drove this outcome, there seem to be quite a few parallels. I'll say that. All right. Let's take some super chats and Rumble rants before we close the lights on the stream here. Vientica says, just in, Trump criticized Pope Leo. Says, if I wasn't in the White House, Leo wouldn't be in the Vatican. Jesus Christ. Oh, God. Oh, God. It just, like I said, man, what did I say? No matter what time of day you do the show, I started the show by saying, hey, as soon as we got I didn't start the show by saying, but I brought up at some point. As soon as we got off the air with Rex Jones on Thursday, there was that Truth Social post about Tucker and Alex Jones and Candace Owens and Megyn Kelly. And now, as soon as we're about to sign off here, boom, new news breaks. Here's the post about the Pope. Thank you, Vienticus. I believe it. Appreciate that very much. Brad Gilbert says all political theater banksters want Russia versus the EU. Thank you, Brad Gilbert. Appreciate that very much. All right, everybody, that is our show. I want to thank you all very much for being here. I want to thank Jake in the booth. I want to thank the YouTubers and the Rumblers for hanging out in the chat and spending your Sunday evening with me and with us. I want to thank our guests, Jenin Younes and Jose Vega. It's great to see you both. Thanks so much for helping me out. And thanks to Jake in the booth. We are going to take a 5-minute break, and then we will have our Q&A call-in session over on Rumble. So if you would like to call in, you can form a queue right now. We will take a 5-minute intermission, after which we will start the Q&A. I am going to start making my own intermissions, actually, which I will do starting next week. But for tonight, you'll have to enjoy the classic. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Appreciate you all very much. If you're sticking around for the Q&A, the link is dudissidents.com/Rumble. That takes you to our Rumble channel and to this specific stream on our Rumble channel. If you are not sticking around for the Q&A, we will be back on Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern with our resident Tuesday afternoon guest host, Kit Cabello from Hardlands Media. So until I see you next time, whether that's in 5 minutes for Q&A or on Tuesday, I want to thank you very much for being here tonight. Be safe and be well. Courage.
Please clap.